Hello, everybody. Welcome into our new show. Ready to talk a lot of sports today. We're going to be doing NFL and NBA, so hope everyone's ready. Just going to wait on my co-host here. I'm sure he'll be in a second. We're not going to start with technical issues like always. We're going to hit the ground running today. What's going on, Jay?
What's going on? Can you hear me?
Of course I can because we have zero
Okay.
technical issues. Although I'm going to jinx us like I did last time. All right. Well, wait. You're good, right? There's no way. After I just said that.
What happened?
No, I was literally just saying, like, we're going to have zero technical issues. And then it was like, uh-oh, does he not hear me?
I know I can hear you, but it's more a me thing.
Oh, okay.
All right, talk real quick.
You hear me?
There we go. Okay. I could you were like I could hear myself through my headphones, but I couldn't hear you through my headphones. It was playing through the TV the computer speakers, but we're all figured out now.
Okay, good. I'm glad we got that figured out. All right. Well, welcome in everybody to the matchup report. We are going to be doing our typical NFL edition today, and we're both excited also to be talking some NBA today. So it's going to be a stacked, pretty long show. So hope everyone tunes in. And as always, if you can't watch us live the entire time, we will be posting this on YouTube later on. Hopefully by tomorrow, we'll have that up. Very excited to talk some both NFL and NBA today, especially NBA. It's been a minute, so ready to catch up on some big headlines there. But let's get straight to it, man. I'm sure today's gonna be a fun NFL episode for us because some frustration from both of us. But let's get to it, man. Let's go ahead and start reviewing our previous matchups from Week 14. I'm gonna have you start first. What was your game of the week?
Yeah, so my game of the week was a big AFC matchup, and it was Texans Chiefs. It had a lot of implications on the particularly the playoffs, and just what that looks like. You had the Texans coming in, who their defense was basically credited as being like virtually unstoppable against Patrick Mahomes, who everything seemed to be going with them for a brief period of time, and then they had a kind of rough slump and now we reached the position where the Texans won this game, and because of that, the Chiefs are their playoff hopes are really dwindling. But as good as the and yes, it was this game is exactly what you would expect. It was the Texans defense being, dominant, pressuring Mahomes, pressuring, everybody, making offense hard for everybody. But at the same time, it was also a lot of like self-inflicted Chiefs wounds where it's like, all right, you're dropping passes that end up being interceptions. Travis Kelsey had a really costly one at the end of this game where like I've seen more washed edits the past couple of days to of the Chiefs Texans matchup with outstanding playing over top of it than I've seen probably my family this past week. And that's saying something since I literally just saw them. But it is just really kind of, like I don't want to say it's not sad to see the Chiefs go out like this because like I think we've all been kind of waiting for this, but like as things stand right now, they are out of the playoffs, which I think is a great sign to like yes, like we all hate the Chiefs, and if you don't like you're a Chiefs fan. But I think it's a good sign to really kind of show how healthy the playoff picture is in the AFC, where we're in a year where the Chiefs and the Ravens are both not in the playoffs, and we're still interested to see who comes out from the East side.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I feel like we talk about him every week at this point, but Will Anderson is just he's so elite. Like he's just a menace. And it feels like he doesn't get talked about enough, probably because the entire defense of for the Texans is elite. So there's like it's kind of hard to like hone in on one guy. But I mean, he is clearly their best D lineman and maybe their best player that they have. And then on top of that, we always talk about how you've got, like Derek Stingley in the back as well as Danielle Hunter. But I mean, guys like that just take over these games, man. It's ridiculous. I mean, Aziz Al-Shaair, the linebacker, just basically shut down things in the middle for them. And then you were talking about the Chiefs receivers. They have not been good like most of the year. Like besides like a few games where it's like, oh hey, like Rasheed Rice kind of stuff. But even like Rasheed Rice's best games, there were still moments where like he's dropping stuff and like they're forcing turnovers. And it's been a weird year for the Chiefs where it was like, okay, we're gonna get healthier, we're gonna get our guys back. We revamped our line a little bit. The defense can still be good. And it just has not gone well for them. And I mean, there were people talking even about like Xavier Worthy, like how he's kind of lucky that Keon Coleman got picked right before him because he's getting over. They're both not playing well, but like one is overshadowing the other with how it's like being highlighted. It's just I think we're at a point now with the Chiefs where it's like, is Andy Reid going to be in Kansas City next year?
And okay, and it was crazy that that did cross my mind, but I wouldn't say that this falls on Andy Reid, and I think like no, some
They're
interesting good
old.
points that
Yeah,
they're old now. Like it's funny that like I mentioned like outstanding being the Wash anthem, and like it's they we'll get to it, but they put it even over Jalen Hurts, which he's too young, I think, to be even be put in those type of conversations. um, but I think they're the one team where it's like you can really put it on them where you have like looking right now, Travis Kelce is your leading receiver, 727 yards, which not good, but why is a 36-year-old your leading receiver and a 36-year-old tight end at that? And yes, like Travis Kelce isn't your average tight end, and he's never been throughout his career, but at his age, you should not be relying on him as your main weapon. And yes, like there's a lot of injury stuff that's tied into that, which it makes sense. But still throughout all of that, it just doesn't feel like the Chiefs have any really any good rhythm, when it comes to their offense. It's a lot of, "All right, Patrick Mahomes is going to do Patrick Mahomes things, and then, like, whatever else happens, like, we pray and hope that the rest of the team can at least kinda help him out in this." And to be fair, like, I'm making it seem like this was kinda one-sided to the Texans. Like, yes, despite all of the self-inflicted wounds, the Chiefs defense did just as well, relatively just as good of a job to kind of keep this game close, and really give their offense a chance to shine. But and they it's funny that they showed the graphic of at the very start of the game, like the Texans when they get in the fourth quarter and how like they are like yes, their defense is elite throughout the entire game, but the fourth quarter they are something different and really kind of like lock in. And Daniil Hunter in particular was kind of like they highlighted him like I felt like they just came back from a commercial break,
mm,
and or actually to start this all the way back, very first play of the game, Chiefs lose their left tackle. He goes down and they rule him out for the season. And I instantly text you and was like, Patrick Mahomes is going to die.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
I was like, he was already their backup. And then now they're on a third string after the first play of the game. I was like, this is not gonna be good. And they literally like they was like he's holding his own. And he held his own through three quarters relatively. Because they were mentioning that he was holding Daniel Hunter to like his lowest pressure rate of the season up to that point. And then after that, I felt like every play I was seeing him right behind Mahomes. And it was, and I think that's just it speaks a lot to like the way that the Texans are able to turn up in the fourth quarter and really just like put pressure on teams like that, which makes them so scary. Which it's what you would expect because playoff teams and really any team like this, they find ways to win, and I think, like, this happened to be the case with this.
yeah. And yeah, you talked about the backup that came in. Like you're right. What was his name? Isse, Esse. I
Yeah.
forget which one it was. Yeah, or Essa Pole. Yeah, dude. Look, because I mean, this is the problem with the Chiefs too. It's like if you can't protect like Mahomes is Mahomes, right? I don't think it can be said like I don't think he's taking a step back or like I don't think he's playing bad particularly. I think it's just he's having to force things because nothing else is happening. I mean, Kareem Hunt is your prime running back right now for your team. And you mentioned Travis Kelce being a 36-year-old tight end who was your leading receiver. Juju Smith-Schuster's out there trying to do stuff. It's like this team has not done a great job of of drafting, it feels like, or putting together a team that can win past like it felt like they were just like, all right, well, we got Mahomes and we'll just figure it out from there. And that was just a terrible way to go about it, honestly. And now I think that that's why we're at a point where it's like they're going to be out of the playoffs. We're going to be talking about potential coaching changes coming because you're right, the team's getting older around him. Even on defense, Chris Jones, it's not like he's getting any younger, and he's clearly. I'm not going to say like he's taking a crazy step back, but I mean, it's at least like a small one. It's just there's been a little bit of regression. I was gonna make a basketball joke, but I stopped myself. Um, I just interesting time for the Chiefs, man. It's like this was. I'm not gonna say the dynasty is over, but at least this version of the dynasty is over, and I think we may be flipping to something new next year.
Yeah, well, you won't say it, I will. This dynasty is over. I like, cause and there was a couple of things that really kinda held it together, but they are all really too old now, and I think, like, at the
Mm,
same time, though, like, the one positive that you can say is that you have an offensive-minded Andy Reid, and you have top 5 quarterback of all time already in Patrick Mahomes. Like, those 2 alone can work you magic on offense, and if you at least get someone who is, capable of, like, being able to draft a bit better or maybe get, more out of these players, like, Isaiah Pacheco in particular, has played 10 games this season, and I can't tell you one significant game where I'm like, "Oh, like, that was a great Isaiah Pacheco performance," and he's their 3rd leading rusher on the team behind Kareem Hunt and Patrick Mahomes. Like, that is we should not be getting to this type of point.
mm.
So I think especially like him coming off his injury last season, it was like, all right, like he's a guy that can be that workhorse running back. There were all the memes and jokes about him running hard and like all of that, and there's been no follow up, no follow through, and no improved performance since then. So it's just it it's sad to see that this is the way things have to go out for them, but at the same time, it is like, all right, we do get young up and coming teams like the Texans. We get teams that have made big leaps this season, like the Colts, and despite the crazy chaos that's kind of happened in the past couple weeks, it is still fun to see this.
He said, "Not sad for me." Yeah, well, like I said, like, and this was actually you mentioned like we all kind of hate the Chiefs, and I think you're kind of right. Like, it's always interesting when you look at dynasties and like how the outside fans react to it. Like the Patriots, I was having this conversation with someone else recently at work. It was like you always get like bandwagon fans when it comes to like really successful teams. But like I don't know if like both the Patriots and the Chiefs got like a whole lot of like bandwagon fans. Like yeah, like some closeted fans kind of came out like to be like oh I've been a Chiefs fan, but like I lived in the area or like Boston fans are always Boston fans. But I just this really has been a dynasty where it's like the first couple years when they were winning, like right when they won that first Super Bowl, and then it's like, even like I'll even admit when Andy Reid was going to that Super Bowl with the Chiefs for the first time, I was like, I was rooting for him. I was like, it's Andy Reid. He was a former Eagle, like, like despite how it ended with Philly, still had a lot of respect for Andy. But then after that, as it continued to roll on, and even the Chiefs players have talked about this, they're like, we don't understand why we get this much hate. And it's because it's like, well, it's because of how you guys act, how your games end. It's just like it's everything combined for it. So it's always interesting to watch dynasties like this where it's like even I feel like at the end of Tom Brady's time with the Patriots, it was like a lot of people were happy in it, but at the same time, you're like, you're watching Tom Brady go out there as like a 40-year-old, like dice people up, and that was still
Yeah.
kind of fun. But with the Chiefs, it's just like, all right, man, can we just get past this? Like, this is not fun for anybody. Like the way y'all played, the way you guys were winning games wasn't fun. So it's always interesting for me to watch, like, the end of, like, a dynasty or just, like, really successful teams after a few years even just, like, how it ends and how people react to it. And it is always it's kind of funny that, like, across the board, unless you are, like, actually, like, a diehard Chiefs fan, everybody's like, "Thank God." Like,
Yeah.
we're getting to new like, we're turning the page here.
And you mentioned dynasties, and this is my last thing, kind of like just tying this whole Chiefs thing into a bow is that like Golden State, for example, very much a dynasty in the making, where it was like when they were hot, it was everywhere. Steph Curry has probably negatively influenced so many like and they always like there's always the clips of him being like I'm not telling you to go out there and pull from you step over half court and pull that, but like that was the type of influence he had. And that's the type of the influence that the Golden State Warriors had on basketball at that point in time, and they were fun to watch. We weren't having conversations like, God, I wait, like I can't wait till this Golden State, era is over. And trust me, as an OKC fan who watched Kevin Durant go over there, I was never like, damn, like, well, okay, maybe I was. I was a hater,
I was about
but
to say,
okay, I
it
was
was
hating,
more split, though, because
but
even for, like
yes,
for me, I was like
it was entertaining, and
yeah, it
and
was
that was the
entertaining.
one thing that had kind of always tied back to it is that we didn't have to worry about them cheating or coming up with like no, I don't say cheating. The Chiefs had like devil magic last season, and we didn't have to worry about any of that with
Mm,
Golden State. It was like, all right, these games came down to the wire, and we saw great players be great players, and I think that's what made though that era really special because you had the when James Harden was like, I remember that one game in particular where he was going off, and like I whatever it was, like, I remember it was basically him against Golden State, and that was an era to watch, and it was, like, it was entertaining. Every time you had a performance like that, it literally felt like you had to do everything right against Golden State to win games, and that's what made things entertaining because you had to play the right way. You had to play a style of like impeccable basketball to beat teams like that. So it became fun to watch them.
Yeah, I'm gonna remember and note all this in my head, by the way, for as your dynasty continues to grow there in OKC and how you react to people hating your franchise. Well, people already kind of are, honestly, with how y'all play defense. People are not happy with how physical y'all play, but yeah, I'm final thing for like the dynasty part of this is like I don't like I'm not in any way saying like this is like oh Mahomes is like he's not gonna win again. I just think that we're gonna see like a second part to this, right? Like Mahomes is still Mahomes. There is still pieces there to work with. And I don't think this team we're going to see them like be, losing their division like again and again after this. I think they could bounce back very quickly because of who you have in the quarterback room. It's going to start looking a lot different. I just think we're going to see like a different iteration of what we're used to with this team, and maybe that can be a more fun team to watch, right? Like because then like when like a team like this goes down and then they rebuild themselves back up, you can gain favor with fans, and you can just kind of be that fun team to watch again. It's just we're always gonna this era will always be remembered as a team that like kind of came out of nowhere where they were a team where no receivers had touchdowns for an entire season. Andy Reid comes in there with Alex Smith. All of a sudden Mahomes comes in his first season. He's going to the AFC Championship game. It was fun. It was exciting. It was an explosive offense. And then now we're at the point where it's kind of like just withering away.
Yeah.
But all right, let's move on. That was a good conversation. Let's go to my game of the week, which was the Colts versus the Jags, and the Colts lost for their 11th time in a row against the Jags when the Jags were the home team. I would say in Jacksonville, but like one of those 11 was like in London, I think. So, but basically the Colts, anytime they play the Jags like in an away game, just lose for the past like several seasons, or 10 plus seasons. So kind of nuts for them. But the big story out of this one was that Daniel Jones got hurt. He had the fibula break in one leg or the fracture in one leg, and then he it has now been reported that he tore his Achilles in the other leg. Which I mean, we see stuff like this happen all the time, where it's like you have like one thing you're dealing with in one leg, and then so you overcompensate with the other, and then that one gets injured. Extremely unfortunate. Daniel Jones, up until he had that fibula break, was having an outstanding season, man. Like this Colts team was so much fun with, what they were doing on offense with Daniel Jones, the receivers, and Jonathan Taylor, obviously. But since he's been hurt, it's just gone downhill. Especially since if you're going as a quarterback with a hurt fibula, of course you're going to like focus more on the all-star running back. But I mean, just outstanding performance from the Colts or from the Jaguars in this one. Either way, like I know there were people were saying, "Oh, well, Daniel Jones got hurt." Trevor Lawrence was amazing in this game, man. He had one of his best games of the season, maybe one of the better ones of his career. Like he was feeling himself this game. He was fantastic throwing the ball down the field. Like his 10 plus yards passes were nearly he was like nearly 100% with them. He was finding everybody. Jacoby Myers has completely like transformed this team on offense. Like Trevor Lawrence, since he's gotten a receiver who is consistent and who can actually catch the ball consistently, mainly, it's just been an amazing connection between the two of them. And I gotta say, I was having this conversation with my roommate earlier. Like I've told you about this before too, where it's like I still have that belief in Trevor Lawrence, where I'm like, there's just something about him where I can't give it up. And part of that's maybe because of the hype that he had coming in, that he does have all the necessary, physical tools that you would need to be a good quarterback. It's just sometimes like the decision making is weird. But when he gets into a flow like a game like this, when he has a coach now and Liam Cohen who can call the right plays for him, he just like I feel like he just needs to play looser more often. And we talk about this like Jordan Love sometimes, where it's like I've been comparing Trevor Lawrence sometimes to like almost like a Brett Favre like gunslinger model kind of quarterback, where it's like, yeah, you're gonna get those kind of nasty interceptions every once in a while because they're gonna hunt for the big play. But in games like this, where it's like, yeah, he'll turn the ball over once, but if you're going for those big plays and you get that 80% of the time, I'll take the 20% like the time where it's like, okay, like it turned into a bad play or it was a turnover, whatever it is. But because if you can generate explosives this much with a guy who has this kind of arm and athletic ability, because he was also fantastic with his legs in this game, like several times just tucking and running, getting these first downs and get like being smart about getting to the ground finally, because in the past he hasn't been always done that. So it was a fantastic game from Daniel Jones, man. And then the Jaguars defense, I mean, especially once Daniel Jones went down, there was just nothing their rookie Riley Leonard could do for them. But man, yeah. And then, I mean, Trevor Lawrence is like on the sideline celebrating with his coach after these big plays. So now the Jags are in a position to win this division, and it looks like they just kind of will, unless Philip Rivers somehow comes in because the Colts signed him as a 44-year-old who was just coaching high school football. Unless Philip Rivers comes in and they went out with him, which I doubt will happen. We can get into that a little bit later, or now, honestly, since we're talking about it already. But yeah, I feel like this will now be the Jaguars division to lose, and the Texans are right there. I mean, we were just talking about how they beat the Chiefs and are on this winning streak. And I mean, that defense can definitely carry them. And as long as CJ Stroud is playing well enough behind a crappy old line, I mean, I think the Texans could honestly get that wild card spot over the Colts if they keep losing like this. But yeah, dude. Yeah, so they signed Philip Rivers, 44 years old, hasn't played for a few years. He was actually about to be eligible for the Hall of Fame this next offseason, but now since he's being re-signed, it resets the clock for him to go. So he's like he's saying, like, screw the Hall of Fame. I don't care about going in there right now. I'm gonna come in and play for y'all. This was the last team that he played for. Him and Shane Steichen are really close. According to JJ Watt, they've been talking all the time, and he was actually using the Colts playbook in his high school team, which I'm like, it's just so many weird like notes and facts coming out about this, where it's like, also I'm gonna get your reaction to this because when they first said that they're gonna bring him in, I thought like, okay, like a spot backup, right? Like he's just gonna come in and like help mentor this like rookie that they're probably gonna have start now. Everything is pointing to Philip Rivers is going to start like now, like this weekend against the Seattle Seahawks, who are a top 3 defense in the league, who kill everybody that they play. Like every quarterback they go against gets like murdered by the Seahawks defense because they just attack and attack and attack. And you're gonna roll out Philip Rivers against that? I just and then they still have to play the Jags one more time, and they end the season with the Colts. And I'm pretty sure, or no, they end the season against the Texans. So I'm pretty sure like all those games are going to really, really matter. And now you're going to be relying on a unretired 44-year-old Philip Rivers.
I'll start by saying this, okay? When I played football, by play football, I was probably in kindergarten. I was very small, but I had a lot of hair.
Mhm.
So they called me Palomalu. Troy Polamalu is 44 years old as well. Troy Polamalu has not played since 2014. He's the same age as Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers has an entire football family full of children ready to go.
He's a grandfather. Philip
He
Rivers is a grandfather.
I I am just shocked that, like, this we're even getting to this point. And yes, right, like, I understand, like and I agree with you to some point that this would have been the perfect opportunity to use, like, him as a, like as a backup to Riley Leonard and to say like, "All right, like we like some of your potential. We've seen what you were able to do at, at Notre Dame. Let's bring you in and like have a veteran of the game and of this program kind of be your like be there to support you." But I was thinking about this, right? I'd rather have 44-year-old Troy Polamalu out there as a safety than I would 44-year-old Philip Rivers as a quarterback. And yeah, like I think you can
I don't know
disguise.
that Head and Shoulders money is probably pretty good. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't think it matters to him too much. But I just think that like there's I think there were plenty of better options than to say, all right, let's get this nearly this grandpa out there literally to go like lead and this isn't like it isn't like a fun like like oh we're not looking good, you're talking about like coming out and just like having a final send off. This is like we
They're
need to
trying to
win
make a
these
playoff
games,
push with him.
and we're gonna send you out there against two of the best defenses, like throughout the rest of the season. He's gonna die. I don't know if that's like if I don't know if that's something that we should televise.
Alright, so all of this that we said, we both agree that this might just be complete malpractice by the Colts franchise to send Philip Rivers out there, especially first week, like immediately off of 1 week of practice against the Seahawks. That being said, I am so rooting for this. I am so rooting for Philip Rivers to just come out there and look like prime 44-year-old Tom Brady out there when he was like with the Bucks.
What I will
Like,
say is that
how
it
fun
is
would
like
that be?
Philip Rivers is the type of person with his mentality that you could throw out there and he won't care.
Oh,
what is a week of practice to him when he's just like, "Shoot, all right, like, let's go.
can
I'm
I
ready."
I am so looking forward to 44-year-old Philip Rivers talking crazy shit to people. I don't know if everyone remembers this. Philip Rivers was one of the number one trash talkers in the NFL throughout his entire career. Like famously, like he used to talk like mid throw to D lineman, talk about like watch this and like screaming at them as he runs down to the new first down marker. Like this old man is going to be talking.
Run. It's going to be hobbling. I don't
Uh,
what you mean to
I,
tell me, like,
well, hey, hold on.
Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter are coming off opposite ends at you. Where are you going?
According to the NFL PR machine, Philip Rivers is in the best shape he's been in years, including better shape than he was the last time he played football. So I don't know. Maybe we're gonna see some like maybe he's doing that thing like Bryce Harper and all these other idiots are doing, where they're like transfusing their blood and putting
I
it back
did
in their
just see that.
body.
That is it creeps
Maybe
me
he
out.
was doing some weird pseudoscience stuff like that to get himself ready. But I just, dude, it's like to me, this is coaching malpractice, but at the same time, I am so rooting for this to be a success. Even though I'm like slightly rooting for like the Jags to like win this division or everything like that, because I just kind of think they're fun. It would be also like insanely fun to see Philip Rivers go on a run and get this team to the playoffs. I don't know. This is gonna be so fun to like watch, but it also might be terrible immediately. So we'll see what happens.
I just I'm scared.
It was the
Um,
weirdest news to ever like be like come across my phone. I was like, Philip Rivers. I was
I
like,
thought it was
by the way,
I I thought I was getting Centelled. I like it, the way or it's not Centel for NFL.
same thing.
Yeah.
It's like Adam Scheffler. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
they have
and
that fake Adam Schefter account and people fall for it. I just, it's gonna be weird, man. It's gonna be weird, and I
see,
honestly I can't
I
wait to see it.
I I'm still on the idea that they should go like, "All right, Riley Leonard at least for one more week. Please do not throw this man out there after a half a week of, you
Especially
know."
against the Seahawks.
Yeah,
I will say
it's
so I looked at the other quarterbacks that were available right now, like free agents. You have Taylor Heineke out there, who has shown that he can be like a decent backup quarterback at least. You also have Desmond Ritter out there who, not great, but also like you could bring him in. And I just and there were probably a few others, like Dorian Thompson Robinson was out there. There's always the looming Colin Kaepernick thing, but like that was never gonna happen. But I was just like I there was at least 2 other quarterbacks out there where you could have been like, "Okay, we'll bring this person in as, like, another backup," rather or sign someone off of, like, the other team's practice squads, whatever it is, but yeah, exactly, Nelson, like, this is either gonna be, like, a car crash immediately, or this is gonna be, like, some miracle that we're gonna see with the Colts, but, either way, I'm excited to see what happens.
it would be the most, like, craziest of NFL seasons if he actually goes out there and he looks relatively positive. Because
Yeah.
I think at this point, you're not looking for you're they know what type of Philip Rivers they're getting. They are desperate, and I think we are going to see that. And I because of that, like, it isn't going to be a situation where they're expecting him to throw the ball a lot. It is subservice it is serviceable enough where he can go out there and do their job enough where Jonathan Taylor doesn't have the entire weight of this offense on his shoulders. You can at least have the threat of other options. And right now, I it seems they clearly don't have that trust in Riley Leonard.
I mean, yeah, which I can partly understand, like, coming out of college, he looked better at Duke than he did at Notre Dame, but Eh, Hey man, wait, I can't wait to see talk about this game against the Seahawks next week. Like, it's not one of my matchup reviews because I'm not that much of a sicko, but it's going to be like morbid curiosity. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's move on to our unit matchups of the week. What was your unit matchup?
My unit matchup was the Bears running backs versus the Packers defensive line. With the game that the Bears had against the spiraling Eagles, I was interested to see what the follow up to that would kind of look like. And in this game, it was it's so okay. In total, the rushing attack had 32 carries for 138 yards. DeAndre Swift with 13 carries for 63 yards, and Kyle Monangai 14 carries for 57 yards. Not bad, but it's it's the Packers defensive line is special. And the pressure that they were able to get is what kind of makes the difference. And like it helps a little bit that like the Bears have a mobile quarterback in Caleb Williams who at times can be a bit too mobile with how he's dancing in the pocket and trying to do too much. But this was a game where it was just like, all right, I think that it felt like the perfect like NFC like NFC North type of matchup where it
Mm,
was like it's what you would expect. And typically we don't have the Bears in these type of conversations. It's the this is like the most like Green Bay and Vikings coded game. And it's just and this is what we kind of got from it. But I was just I think the like in a game like this, the Packers defense is going to be the one to kind of take over, but the Bears defense, I think, did a just enough job to really kind of just contain things and give their offense a chance as well.
yeah. Yeah. Can I just say, all right, so I know you're focused on like can I just say Caleb Williams had some insane throws this game real
Yeah,
quick? Like there was like some plays in there late in the game where like I had to stand up because I was like he had one where he rolled out to the right and he was being chased by one of the D linemen and I think it was Rome running up the sideline or him or Luther Burden like the right sideline and he or no it was the it was the one of the tight ends. Sorry.
Colston
He's
Loveland.
I think it was Colston Loveland. He's running down the sideline like with a DB, by the way, like draped all over him, and Caleb Williams perfectly on the move, like layers it over to him, and then he follows it up with a touchdown. By the way, where he had a rollout again, a DB again, draped all over his receiver. He throws it like here's the DB's hands and here's the receiver's hands. He pinpoint like lasers it through everybody to get to the back of the end zone to his receiver. It was like two throws where within like a couple minutes where I was like, holy shit, like this is why you got Caleb Williams right here. Like he can just make plays like that. And we've seen that with him and Ben Johnson, where it's like, look, there's a stuff and structure that you can do with Ben Johnson because he's a great play caller. But when things break down, you need guys like Caleb Williams at times who can just be like, screw it, I got us. Like, I'm just going to make a play with my legs, my arm, which he can do both. And in this game, I know they lost. I know that the Bears lost this game, but Caleb Williams made some special plays this game, but it was just outdone by what has become a really, really good kind of, Packers defense, which we thought it would be at the beginning of the season with how they started, and now it's kind of coming back to fruition. And that on top of the Packers offense also coming back together again, where Jordan Love is kind of like seems like he's gotten out of this funk that he was in. You're right. It was a really fun game. And I just, it had huge playoff implications in these two teams and the Lions. It's weird that the Bears now, since they lost after they were just like the number one seed in the NFC, are now like fighting for a wild card spot and have the potential to not even be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's just such a crazy NFL season with the standings, how everything's going.
It is very weird, but I will say something else that I took from this game, and it was okay. The the Bears have a lot of offensive weapons, and I think especially in the receiving core with some options they had, but, like, when you look at this box score, it was Luther Burden who was your leading receiver with 4 catches for 67 yards.
Let's go.
I had to bring that up to give you a little bit of credit, but the thing that stood out to me is why is DJ Moore only having 1 catch for -4 yards? Um, and, like, yes, like, they said, like, he only received 3 targets, and they said, obviously, clearly, it's not the intention to go out there and, like, only, give this receiver, like, 1 target, but it is still, like, all right, like and yes, like, Packers defense, phenomenal, one of the best in the league. You still have to, I think at times, like, we've seen the hiccups and the reminder that Ben Johnson is still a first-year head coach, and I
Yeah.
think this was just one of those times.
Yeah, I 100% agree. All right, we move on to my unit matchup, which was the Ravens rushing attack versus the Steelers defense. The Ravens rush attack was very good in this game. Derrick Henry had his most carries on the season. He had was averaging like 4 yards per carry. Did a great job. Even the backup running backs, Keaton Mitchell, had a decent game. The problem is Lamar Jackson has not been good this year, unfortunately. After having what I thought should have been an MVP award winning season last year, um, it's just I don't. And then the Ravens defense especially just kind of shit the bed this game again. It's really disappointing. It was a defense like last year that was really good, especially towards like the second half of the season. And this year, I thought it was like a couple of games where it's like, okay, maybe they're getting back to that. They're not, man. Aaron Rodgers had one of his best games of the season. Another 40-plus-year-old quarterback out here. He completed all 3 of his deep passes, so 20-plus yards. He completed all 3 of them, including a huge one to DK Metcalf, who popped off this game for like over 140 yards and a couple of touchdowns, I think it was. But yeah, it was like, according to NGS, Rodgers had not completed a deep pass in the entire month of November. The entire month of November, Aaron Rodgers didn't complete a pass over 20 yards. And then he goes against the Ravens and completes all of them that he attempts. So it just shows you how bad this defense has been lately. And like the Steelers clearly and Aaron Rodgers were like, we're just going to take advantage of this. And it was DK Metcalf who got to he was targeted 12 times in this game, 7 catches, 148 yards for DK Metcalf. Like he torched him. He just torched him. And like DK Metcalf has always been like a talented receiver, but especially if you put him on corners like Nate Wiggins, for example, who is like a really, really good coverage corner. Like Nate Wiggins is a good corner in this league. But the physicality difference is just there. When you get guys like an AJ Brown or DK Metcalf, who, former college teammates who can do this stuff, you can have games like this where you can take advantage of that and pop off. So it's, good on the Steelers for seeing that and taking advantage of it. Bad on the Ravens defense for not recognizing their own weakness and not being able to like adjust to that. So while the rushing attack did come through for the Ravens after they saw what the Bills did to the Steelers, it just wasn't enough for them because their defense just simply can't hold up.
Yeah, and I'll start with Aaron Rodgers because one, the Jets are cursed. Because
Wait, what? What?
there's no way, like, with what we have seen from Aaron Rodgers in New York that him going to the Steelers was a good move. And the way we talked about this man during the offseason where it was like, all right, the Steelers are clearly desperate for anybody at quarterback other than Mason Randolph or Rudolph, my fault.
Yeah.
And we were like, all right, like they are desperate if they're willing to wait out Aaron Rodgers' ayahuasca trips to decide what his future is and everything. And we were like, all right, like either way, we figured the Steelers were going to be dead even on the season either way, and Mike Tomlin gets to keep the record of
Yeah,
never
9 and
having a
8.
losing season.
Yeah.
And the fact that like Aaron Rodgers has actually looked pretty solid has been like the most surprising thing. But when you really think about it, it's like, all right, like he was on the Jets. Like, and I think that's what I always go back to is like they're really cursed to have like someone who was like clearly washed with your team leave and get better as he got older and way past the prime of his career.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say he's been great, but,
Yeah, but yeah, it's been solid, especially when
it's
you
good
consider
enough.
what you're expecting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers still aren't like it's so crazy. They're 7-6 right now. They're the 4 seed in the AFC. The Ravens are on the outside looking in right now at the playoffs. That whole division is just a crazy mess, man. But they still love beating each other up. I have zero confidence in this team if they get to the playoffs, especially after how people are able to run on them. And if you get the playoffs, teams are just going to take full advantage of that, like better teams than the Ravens, right? Like, what if they have to face the Bills again? They're just going to have a repeat. But I mean, yeah, you're right. Like Aaron Rodgers, it's like the Jet stuff was so weird because it was like, remember like the Hard Knock stuff where it was like all the celebrities that come over there to see him, like John Hamm talking about it, and like it was just such a like weird celebrity thing. And then he gets injured right away, and he comes back. It all goes bad, and then the Steelers for some reason honed in on him, and I think part of it was like they just wanted a floor after the Russell Wilson Justin Fields experiment.
Yeah.
But the problem with the Steelers is like what's next? Like I don't see like what did you see that rant from Marcus Spears on ESPN after the game
No.
talking about like the Steelers? It was recent. I think it was after last week's game after they got beat by the Bills, but was making the point that like, all right, cool, yeah, you got Aaron Rodgers, you're having like you're gonna have like you're another 9-8 season, but what's next? Like where has this team been going since Ben Roethlisberger retired? And it's just been mediocrity since then. But hey, look, you get to the playoffs, you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers who can maybe turn it on. I mean, we got a team putting out a 44-year-old unretired quarterback out there, so maybe like Aaron Rodgers can do something. But I just with the Steelers, man, I don't know what their future is, and with the Ravens, I'm starting to have questions about their future as well because this feels like something that's been a long time coming with them, where it's like unless Lamar Jackson is playing at an MVP level, this team just they can't really function.
Yeah, and I it's just kind of okay. I don't know where to start with either team. Um, I'll say the Ravens. I think still they. I don't think it's a panic situation just yet with them.
Mm.
Because like with how things have been going this season, you've had the absolute worst luck with injuries. Everything was going wrong for you, and yet you still were able to find a way to recover to get to where you are. Which is why I say, despite like all the chaos that may have ensued with them, it isn't like all right, like you've gotten this far with how crazy things were, just breathe, relax, and then go at it again. Like, find a way to, like, breathe and say, "Alright, what do we need to do to get into the playoffs? Like, who do we need to beat? What does the plan look like for us?" And find consistency moving forward. Because, yes, Lamar hasn't, played at the MVP Lamar type of level that you've seen him at, but you know that, like, he's still capable of it. And I think, like, we're not seeing the last of, like, MVP Lamar from, like, the past couple of seasons, but it clearly, like, the injuries this season and everything is kinda taking a toll. So I don't think it's a situation where we're, especially because I do believe, okay, it's hard to say that they're a better team to the Steelers have. I think there's a bit more to this, and I think as we continue to
Well,
go, we'll throughout the season, we'll kinda see exactly what the Ravens' plan is moving forward for their future because while they this loss is, to the Steelers, they still have a much better defined future than the Steelers do.
I agree. I completely agree. Yeah. All right, let's move on from that. From those, yeah, let's move on from that. Real quick with my player matchup, we already talked about the Texans and Chiefs, so I'll just do mine real quick. It was Stingley against Mahomes. Stingley's streak of not allowing a catch for several games, like he had the previous 2 games, he didn't allow a catch at all. Barely even was even targeted because he's just locking everybody up. Mahomes did target him, the receivers that were covered by Stingley twice, but Stingley only allowed 1 catch for 22 yards. So and we know how the game went. So I think we can safely say that Stingley won this matchup, which was kind of predictable. But I just kind of wanted to see, like, all right, Chiefs, like backs against the wall, Mahomes, are you going to be, ballsy enough to attack their best DB, or what are we going to do here? And I mean, it was 4 interceptions, and Stingley was a part of one of them. He didn't get that, but like he was definitely in the mix. And I mean, these DBs were all over those receivers. Like I don't think any of the receivers won their matchup against any of the Houston DBs. So yeah, but yeah, just had to mention that real quick. And then, what was your player matchup?
Oh, sorry. I'm it once again is acting up, and I can only hear myself right now. All right, I'm going through it. Okay. My player matchup was a good one. It was Jackson Smith and Jigba versus AJ Terrell. And I mentioned this last week is that I feel like AJ Terrell is a receiver that, or not a receiver, a DB that kind of really goes underlooked in a lot of ways because you have your Pat Surtains, you have your Derek Stingleys. And I think a bit of the, kind of the injury struggles with a player like this. It was like, all right, like you don't know what, kind of what you're getting at this point. And I still think he's a very much we mentioned this, like, if there's S tier corners, he's like right below them in an A tier. And it's not that he can't get there, it's just that, like, with, like, how things have gone, he's just had players that are just better.
Mm,
And when you literally have the reigning defensive player of the year as a DB, which doesn't happen too often, especially when, it feels like voters are looking and say, all right, who has the most sacks? You're our defensive player of the year. Have a good year.
yeah,
And you really have to be an exceptional player on a defensive end to really kind of, be different than like you need to have a good season otherwise, like, besides sacks or
yeah,
interceptions, because you have players like Deron Bland who have, like, crazy interception seasons, and then now we're seeing him getting clipped every game. Like, last week was bad where you had Jahmyr Gibbs multiple times, just like there's the one where he's he's both hands on the ground, ass up in the air, trying to after trying to, like, catch him on the sideline, and it wasn't even like he had done a move or anything. It was like he literally just, like, slowed down so fast that he could not keep up, and I was like, and I'm like, yes, I'm joking with this, but, like, it is still, like, sad to see. Either way, all this to say, Jackson Smith and Jigba has 7 catches for 92 yards and 2 touchdowns. But it wasn't like I don't think it was a traditional, like, "Oh, Jackson Smith and Jigba is dominating" type of game. It was alright, like, this was a coordinated, like, kind of almost like a chess match between the 2 where it's like you each kinda get your punches in, but it's also a game where it's like when you're when you lose 37-9 from the Atlanta's perspective of this, Seattle is going to stop throwing the ball.
yeah.
And I think this is kind of what, just ended up happening with this, because if this is closer, maybe we do get a bit more of, like, a bit more JSN targets or a bit more, of this matchup. But when Atlanta's offense is, one, being led by Kirk Cousins, and a lot of the pressure kind of goes on to Bijan Robinson to kind of take the load. it becomes difficult. And I think we've seen that, really even before like Michael Penix's injury, because he was battling a couple things and it was clearly he wasn't 100%. And now it's like, all right, now you have Kirk Cousins leading and things just don't look good. So it's disappointing to see the Falcons season kind of go this way after like they was really promising, especially the defense looked really good, but Seattle's defense is just as good. And when you have that, like, and your offense is and this has been the case like the past couple weeks where it was like, all right, Seattle goes out there, their offense scores basically 20 in the first half, and then their defense is so good that you're basically held scoreless, and then the second half they can just put it on cruise control. It's like Nick Sirianni's dream. And this is what Seattle has been great at doing this season, and it this is just another game that exemplifies it.
Yeah, I remember texting you throughout this game because I was like, I remembered your matchup and AJ Terrell was making some plays. I was like, oh my god! I was like it was like the beginning of the game. He was well, first of all, shout out AJ Terrell for being a corner who is willing to follow around an elite receiver. I mean, even like the first catch he allowed in the game against Jason, he's following him into the slot. Like he's clearly saying, like, I'm on this guy. Like this is going to be my matchup for the day. And so the fact that they trusted him and that he was confident enough in himself to be able to do this, and I know the box score will say that like it wasn't the best game for him. But if you watched like what was going on in this game, like AJ Terrell did whatever he could like to like stop JSN. It's just shout out to the play callers in Seattle who put JSN in positions to win. They were using him in motion. They were putting him in better spots to get AJ Terrell off leverage. They were using rub routes, crossing routes, whatever they could do to give him a head start to get away from AJ Terrell because AJ Terrell even he caused an interception earlier in the game where he was able to tip it up and get it to one of his teammates. So it's like while JSN did end up having a really good game, the Seattle team in general just had a really good game. I wouldn't say that AJ Terrell did poorly, even though like the box score would say otherwise. Like he was just he did what he could, and the rest of the team didn't. If that makes sense, it was just yeah. Sometimes you're just gonna have days like that as an elite corner where it's like you're gonna hold on as long as you can, and then once the dam breaks because everything else is going poorly, you're just kind of caught in a bad position.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for our matchups from the previous week. Let's move on to what stood out to us most the previous week. We already talked about a few of mine, honestly. So, all right, I'll let you
Let's get it
start.
out. Let's get it
Yeah,
out the
just
way.
go ahead. Go
All
ahead.
right.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni, count your days, okay? Count your days as an Eagles head coach. No, okay. I can't be the fake, angry guy. But I will say that I like
You can be the real angry guy because I'm pretty angry about it.
all
The
all I
Eagles.
say is, and like this is it, I'm gonna sound like a coach after a bad loss, and they come and sit down and they're like, it was pretty disappointing loss. I thought we had a good chance that we fought hard, but it just just didn't go our way. No, this is different. This is and yes, it's a combination of this game felt like a microcosm of the entire season.
Mhm.
Okay, let's start with the coaching, of course, because they will be the entire point of all this, right? Nick Sirianni, and I, what does he do? And I think like this is a question that like I've continued to really ask this multiple times, and really kind of question him the past couple weeks after you said something like, "Oh, this isn't all on Kevin Patullo." And yes, I'll get to you in a minute, Kevin. But Nick Sirianni in the way that like we have constantly seen the Eagles with so many penalties, so many costly penalties, and it's funny because like even when the penalties aren't called like and for example, like the Saquon touchdown where it was a fake touch push and the toss out to the outside. I do not have a hit list.
Hey,
when
listen, I didn't get it. I didn't get them when they were here in LA. So when they landed in Philly, I guess you might have been the one waiting for them.
do I maybe have a receipt of eggs? I don't know. Like I
Oh,
it,
yeah,
if
all
if
the
it
grocery stores in Philly about to be sold out in
if
eggs.
it is, I may have thrown it before I got into my car. Either way, I okay. The penalties were an issue this game, and I think that's where to start because that is something that
All
Nick
season.
Sirianni can control. And like I said, these were microcosm. Like this was a microcosm of every issue we've seen. The penalties, and even when they aren't being caught, like we can still see them. And it was the one in particular of the Saquon touchdown on the fake touch push where he tosses it outside. And like Nick Sirianni goes up to Jordan Mailata after and is like, great block. That block was a clear hold on Khalil Mack. and they kept showing it multiple times, and it's like
which Jordan Mailata has done a lot this year.
yes, and it is like it is clearly a discipline issue, right? And that kinda makes up a lot of the offensive line. So you that is that's one issue in itself. Then you have the play calling. And yes, Jalen Hurts did not play well this game. And yes, I've been a Jalen Hurts defender, and I still will be because I don't think that this is like this is not what we've come to see from him. It is a combination of a couple of things of like one, still we are seeing bad play calling and not a lot of great options where it's like when you are consistently expected to get results and you and your offensive coordinator is not giving you these good options and like the opportunities to really put you in good positions, we are going to see him like try to force things. And I think this was a game where it's like, all right, because you're only going to run hitch routes this entire time. What am I going to do? I'm going to throw the ball to them. And I think we saw that at least on like two of those interceptions in particular where well, AJ Brown seemed like he had a choice route on the first interception, cut into the wrong way, and Jalen doesn't have much, much time. And yes, still a very clearly bad throw that he throws right over the middle, and the guy's looking right at him. Then the other ones, it gets kind of like iffy. You can say, all right, like there were a couple of drops, and yes, speaking of drops, AJ Brown, he had a couple of costly drops in this game where it was like whether it was the touchdown pass that was dropped at the end zone and was put right in the bucket, or it was the one of Jalen Hurts' other interceptions where it was like, all right, off the fingertips, and yes, it was a little too high, but when you have a receiver like that and whose whole mantra is being this big physical throw it up and I'll go get it type of receiver, you need to go and play that role. And it is very ironic that we were constantly hearing AJ Brown all season, complain and moaning. Yes, he's been quiet the past couple weeks, but this also took a conversation with Jeffrey Lurie coming down and being like, "Hey, can you stop being a diva?" And then now we're seeing him drop passes, and yes, like these were all uncharacteristic, kind of, mistakes from a Jalen Hurts with the 4 interception game for him to have what, like 1 interception, but like 1 interception before this 3-week span. And then since then 5. It is it was very uncharacteristic of both AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, but I always am a positive person and try to take the positive out of things. The defense and the defensive line in particular were phenomenal. When you play so well that Adoree Jackson gets an interception, I think it becomes truly like it needs to be talked about. And yes, like there's were a lot of negatives and particularly the offense, but at the end of the day, they still had a chance in this game because of how well the defense played, how well Jalen Phillips played, how well a Jordan Davis played, and this is all without a Jalen Carter there. And Nakobe Dean as well, like, and he's really has become like one of the best blitzing linebackers in the league. Where it's like if if your assignment as a running back is to pick up the blitz and you see Nakobe Dean coming at you, I wish you the best because we've seen him multiple weeks in a row just run through running backs who are in protection. So I'll end it on a positive note and just say I was very impressed with the defense and they did their job, and once again, they could only hold and sustain inconsistent offense for so long, and the offense, they're like we're getting to the point where if they lose this week against Vegas, I I think it's safe to say probably everyone like I maybe I'm being dramatic, but I would want everyone to lose their job. At least like a Sirianni and a Patullo because we know exactly whose fault it would be, and it would be those 2. And they if they want to be friends and buddy buddies, you can ship them out and they can be buddy buddies on a beach somewhere in Aruba. Um,
They can go back to the Colts with their buddy Shane Steichen.
yeah, I at the same time though, with all this being said, the Eagles are still in the playoffs and have a 93% chance to make the playoffs. It isn't, as crazy as the sky has been falling, you're on a losing streak, you still don't like you still have these great players who are going to step up in big times, and we saw it a better performance from Saquon Barkley this game, and it like, you you see the glimpse of, like, potential that this entire team has when they are fully in rhythm and fully playing together, and it is just disappointing that it can't come together more than a drive or two.
I mean, the entire organization is disappointing right now, but I think just besides the defense, like you said, I kind of just want to work like top down, dude. Like I'm starting to blame Howie Roseman a bit because there should have been better foresight for how this offense was going to be going forward. Like you've had Kevin Patullo in the building since you brought in Nick Sirianni. You probably should have known that he wasn't ready for this, man. Like if you already weren't promoting him in previous seasons, why were we all of a sudden like we were like, okay, now it's your time? Like there had to have been a better search for an offensive coordinator than this, especially with what we've seen in the past with Nick Sirianni. Anytime he's allowed to bring in his buddies or hire from within to be the offensive coordinator, it's bad. This is statistically the worst offensive season that the Eagles have had since Nick Sirianni has been here. Even worse than when he had to be fired from play calling duty, and then Shane Steichen had to take over, and he did so well. He ends up getting a job after the following season to go be the Colts head coach now, which we've seen what he's been able to do with Daniel Jones, for example. Um, so Howie Roseman could have had a little bit better foresight here and could have put his foot down a little bit better, expanded the search for a better offensive coordinator. I don't know exactly what all the options would be, but we're seeing new offensive coordinators and other teams do a lot better. Uh, Nick Sirianni, it was reported before this game that he's way more involved with the offense and the planning, and that he was, in the offensive room with them, like talking a lot before the Kevin Tullo go up and do his normal meetings, all that. Cool. Yeah. So the week where we get reported that Nick Sirianni is going to be more involved and have more say in the offense, they have their worst performance of the season, I think. Great. Awesome. So what do you do as a head coach then? Because your team is undisciplined, which I talk about every week with the penalties. You got more involved with the offense, and they're absolutely terrible. The play calling was still just awful in general, going to Patullo, where you mentioned the hitch route thing. It was a few days ago, a chart came out where it showed teams that run the most hitch routes in the NFL and players specifically. Highest rate of hitch routes ran by all NFL players with at least at least a 200 routes ran or something like that. Dallas Goedert is number one. Jahan Dotson is number two. Devontae Smith is number three. AJ Brown is still also in the top 15. Dude, like, what are we talking about? And you see it. That's how, well, by the way, one of the interceptions happened. Devontae Smith was running a comeback route, and he didn't sell the stem well enough, basically. And Dante Jackson was like, oh, I know what's happening. They're running a hitch route because that's just what they do, like, half of the time. So then he breaks on it, gets the interception.
Saquon Barkley run, AJ Brown deep ball.
Which, by the way, can we talk about, like, what is the obsession with running Saquon Barkley on first down every single time for a net negative, dude? Like, they're either getting 0 or negative yards every single time they try to run this ball. And they're so predictable at this point where it's like, it makes it impossible for you to do anything as an offense. And look, Jalen Hurts had a terrible game. This is his worst season that he's had as a starter for the Eagles, hands down. But we have seen him in previous years be able to operate as long as you can just, I don't know, like have a functioning play caller out there who can put things together with a decent game plan. It's like, I don't even know what the game plan was in this game. Why are you running hitch routes against a team where they run more zone coverage, especially cover two, than any other team in the league? And you're like, yeah, this is a good idea. Let's run hitch routes into cover two. That's stupid. This team does things that are so unbelievably like ignorant when it comes to their play calling and how they do all their preparation. It's disgusting. And oh, cool, we got a positivity bunny in the locker room now. The old lineman. It's like a game, dude. It's Saquon Barkley is talking about how there's not enough energy on the sidelines. I'm like, this is not a professional football team, and it's torturous, bro. Because it's one thing to watch a bad team be bad because they just don't have the talent and they're rebuilding, and you can just be like, there's less disappointment with it. Like there's an understanding of like, okay, this is kind of what we expected. Like, when you have the positive, it's nice because you're like, okay, these are things we can build on going forward. The Eagles they won the Super Bowl this calendar year. You and I both have pictures of us on Broad Street celebrating that the Eagles win the Super Bowl this calendar year. And then now here we are in December talking about, okay, this isn't even 2023 all over again, by the way. This is worse, like significantly worse. I cannot believe I'm saying that after Mr. Rocket Scientist with the pencil behind his ear had to come in and be a coordinator for the Eagles 2 years ago, and like other people were getting fired. Like this is absolutely terrible on all ends, coaching down. And then yes, it's also on the players. Tyler Steen is not working out at right guard. He is just I don't know what's wrong with him, like why he can't move his feet sometimes, it feels like, and why he's just able to get pushed every single time. He's playing bad. Jordan Mailata is having, I think, one of his worst seasons of his career. and he's been an all pro in the past, and he's getting penalty after penalty and just making dumb mistakes. I don't. Again, I said this at the very beginning, before the season even started, when we were in preseason. I was saying, why is Landon Dickerson having this knee injury that's supposed to be like, it's not like major where he's gonna be out for the whole season, but like that he had to rest for several weeks, and then we're rushing him back to play this year. I don't care how tough he is or how tough, like, oh, he's fighting, like he's not gonna let them, like, that's someone in the medical team or in coaching needs to be like, dude, you're not 100%. And when you're out there, you're actually like, not, and I know the backups aren't doing a great job either, but like, he has to leave every single game because he's injured. That's not, and then now you're putting in like a cold old lineman in there to take his spot. It's in and out with that. The centers, Cam Jurgens could have been hurt all year as well. So I had to see Brett Toast dumbass out there trying to like play like any position on the inside of the O line, across the board bad. Saquon, everyone's like, I think Saquon actually and Devontae Smith have been two of the better players on this team consistently all year. And
Okay, most consistent player on this offense, I'd say is Dallas Goedert. At least right now, I think he's
no,
having one of
no,
his
no,
best
I'm going
seasons.
to disagree with you on this. Dallas Goedert has not been good. Yes, I understand the numbers can show that he's been catching the ball well and doing decent. He is a terrible blocker. I know sometimes it'll highlight because he'll get matched up with some small receiver on the edge that he can bully and knock out, like take him out the club, right? Oh, that's great. That's a fun little highlight reel. In general, he has become one of the worst blocking tight ends in the league, and that is why when players like our backup tight ends or like this is like another cascading effect where Lane Johnson gets hurt. So they were trying to do all the 6-0 lineman, big personnel stuff. And then that's why Fred Johnson would come in and be that 6-0 lineman. Lane Johnson gets hurt. So then Fred Johnson has to start as your right tackle. So then it takes away those packages that you're using that were working well for you, because then you can mask the terrible blocking tight end that you have there out on the field on these run plays in Dallas Goedert. So then he is messing things up out there. Cameron Latu is a way better blocker out there, but it's not like he's going to be out there as like your number one tight end. So again, this is game planning. This is personnel decisions by the coaching staff and the GM that have been terrible. So everything that they're doing, like from start of the week with preparation until the end of the week when these games end, and we're sitting there looking like, what the hell did I just see? Because the offense can't sustain drives. It's either 3 and out or turnover, this last game especially. And it's just, then you're putting the defense in a position where it's like they don't get the rest. They're on the field way more than anybody else, any other team's defense in there, because you can't sustain drives. And then when the defense does have to go out there, they're in bad field position, and it's an advantage for the opposing team's offense. And you're relying on this elite defense to save you every single game, but it's just not realistic. It's just everything about this team is just it just feels, it's like you're right. It's frustrating because it's like they're right there. We've seen what this team can be, but every decision they make, every discipline factor is just terrible. And there's no one to blame but themselves, right? There's no outside factors here. Everything that's wrong with this team has come from within the building. And it started in the offseason, and we're seeing the results of that now.
My final
God,
thing
I'm glad I got that off my chest.
my final thing I'll say about this is that this will be a kind of pivotal offseason for both, like, Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie to and it's crazy that we're saying this, to, like, reestablish what this team is moving forward, and really the culture of this team, because I think Nick Sirianni and yes, like, in a sense, like, Nick Sirianni is the perfect reflection of Philadelphia in a sense that he is the coach where it's like he he feels like the most, like, South Philadelphia man of all time. Whereas, he is the representation of, like, a large portion of Philly, and he is the high energy, like, like, yelling. He'll, like, he's a diehard, like, for, supporter of your team, and will do everything to do this, like, to be there and, like, be the hype man for this team. But at what point is hype man simply not good enough? And I think we've reached that. We're far beyond that point now. But I think this is a season where it has become abundantly clear to, like, the front office that, like, all right, like, very clear that, like, yes, and it's crazy to say a season removed from a Super Bowl that you're considering this, but it was a lot of the Super Bowl win and the playoff success really kind of falls down to it was great individual players and great teamwork from the collection of the players and less so about him. And I think when that is finally realized, this team can move in a better direction. And I think this offseason, no matter what the outcome of the remainder of the season will be, we'll still have some conversations about this.
Yeah, I'm tired of the we'll get it together. They can go on a run. The excuses from the coaches and just hearing the players like we didn't play well enough, and they're defending each other more and more and more. It's like it gets to a point where they're getting upset with the media, and it's like there's no one to be upset with but yourself at this point. If you're on the Eagles, like top down, dude, I'm even pissed off at Big Dom at this point. Like just like I get him off my screen. I don't want to see any Eagles gimmicks or stupid crap anymore. The bunny thing pissed me off. I already mentioned that. It's just God, it sucks because like I said, it's bad football, top down. And there were so many expectations, right? I can watch a Saints game and not walk away disappointed because I'm like, yeah, this is the Saints. This is what we expected. They were projected to be the number one overall pick going into this next offseason because we all thought they weren't going to be great. So when they have moments like where they beat the freaking Bucks this last week, it's like, wow, this is great. What a great moment for us in this season. The Eagles, they win games. They didn't win last night, obviously. They were terrible. But when some of the games they win, you're like, God, this feels awful. Like, like, why do they look like this? And no one seems to have an answer anywhere. Like, no one seems to know what the problem is. And the first way to figure out like what your strengths are and all that, you have to know what your weaknesses are so you can improve on everything. They seem to just be like, there's no mirrors in Philadelphia, apparently. Like the NovaCare facility, the Link, there's just zero mirrors because everyone is just looking around and no one knows how to look inside and realize like, oh, we're screwing this up and this is what we need to fix. I don't want to see the team make the playoffs if I'm being as an Eagle. Like I hate saying that, but like we all know what's going to happen. Most likely they get the playoffs. It's going to be like every time they play the Bucks in the playoffs where they just shit the bed. I'm so over this team, man. I hate watching bad football. I hate it. And it's just this team. It's a bad football team, and 80% of it is on the offense.
Yeah,
we got to move on.
Yeah,
because I'm gonna piss off a neighbor.
All right, where do we even go from here?
Let's go to another team that pissed me off this week, and that would be the Cleveland Browns, who had a chance to win a game. Their rookie quarterback, who has been much maligned because people want to say whatever they want to say about him because of his family and who he is and how he's always on time. Well, he was really on time this last game. He had his best game of his young rookie career, was out there having fun with his team. And then they get a chance to, tie or win the game with a 2-point conversion after their rookie quarterback just drove them down the field and had an amazing time. And then so what do? They run the Wildcat formation and put their quarterback on the sideline and they lose the game. What are we doing, Browns? What are we doing? And then reports come out. They're very excited about Deshaun Watson still. He's been a great leader for these guys in the locker room. This is like, by the way, in the same week span, I've seen the Charlotte Hornets talk about how the young players are looking up to Miles Bridges as their leader. And then in the Cleveland Browns, they're talking about how Deshaun Watson is their leader that they look at too. If that's where you're at as a franchise, reset.
We should not have talked about these two teams back to back. It is.
No, let's get it out. Let's get it out.
If for the sake of like moving forward in a positive direction, this works. I'll just focus on Shedeur Sanders to start. And 23 for 42, 364 yards and 3 touchdowns. Oh, my fault. 4 touchdowns. He also had a running one that I left out because he was also the leading rusher as well. Because Quinshon Judkins was the closest behind him with 14 carries for 26 yards. The man literally put the team on his back. And how do you see that Shedeur Sanders has been your only hot player all game? And yes, like I've seen a lot of people say, well, of course it's against the Titans. And yes, doesn't matter who it's against. The man threw for 300 yards and no other rookie quarterback has done it this season. Including the quarterback that he went against this game in Cam Ward, who, yes, he's progressing.
He's awesome.
Yes. And it was funny, their interaction after they showed the clip of like them swapping jerseys and like Cam Ward's like, what you have 350 and 3 touchdowns. I'm putting this on eBay. Like, honestly, I don't blame him. He could make some money on that if he wasn't already getting paid millions to throw a football. But okay, either way, It's disappointing, and especially the type of play that it was where you want Quinshon Judkins throwing for the game, and I think this, like, and yes, this could have had a good intention of, "All right, like, let's catch them off guard, it's going to be it's a surprise and everything." At the end of the day, it would be, and by no means am I saying Patrick Mahomes and Shedeur Sanders are the same player, but if Patrick Mahomes goes out there and is throwing for 350 and 3 touchdowns, your final play is not putting Travis Kelce in Wildcat and saying, "Go out there and win us the game." And yes, like, very different players, very different, points in their career, but what better way to test the character of a young quarterback that you're unsure about than to see him in these moments and to put him in these high pressure situations to see what you really have, and they are failing him in that sense.
I just it was such a disappointing game for like, your defense has been carrying you all year, right? Where it's like they've tried to put you in games. Miles Garrett now has a league leading 20 sacks, by the way. I can't wait for him to break the record, and I really hope he does. Harold Fannin Jr., your rookie tight end, is awesome. Okay, you have that going for you. Him and Shador Sanders seem to have this connection now, where Harold Fannin got like 114 of the nearly 400 yards that Shador Sanders threw for. They're on fire. They're doing the stuff. It's finally a game where your offense is functioning. Your defense was like probably had one of their worst games of the year, but your offense was finally carrying their part of the load, and you destroyed it. Like you just fumbled in the end. I just I don't get it, man. I don't. It's like I wasn't buying into the like Kevin Stefanski not liking Shador Sanders stuff too much. I was like, it's just a bunch of outside noise, and he was complimentary of him a little bit more coming into this game. And then now I see this, and I'm like, this is stupid. Like this is just stupid. I already hated the Browns franchise, and every single year they do nothing to make me like them anymore. It's
Yeah.
just asinine. All right, can we? Is there a positive team we can talk about? Oh yeah, there is. Can we talk about the Panthers and them potentially making the playoffs now?
It is I look, I don't wanna there's hope, but with hope, there's also a chance to be disappointed, and
Don't we
I'm
know?
I don't wanna get myself too hopeful with a team like this, but I really hope they do. It's not looking, entirely probable, and we'll have to kinda see the way, things shake out, but I just I think it's a fun dream, but I don't know how realistic it is.
Well, the Buccaneers can't get their crap together. The Panthers are on their heels, man. I mean, they have the same record. They're both 2-1 in the division. I mean, the Buccaneers have a slight, basically like little lead on them right now in the division. But I mean, if the Panthers keep playing the way they have been, which has been just like a little up and down, but like they're not an easy out anymore. And the Buccaneers are flailing, man. Like, but Baker is clearly hurt, and they're already dealing with all these other injuries on offense, especially. It's not looking great, and a loss to the Saints is especially not great if you're the Bucks, man. Uh, I just, but it makes it for an exciting scenario where now it's like, okay, maybe the Panthers can win this division and make the playoffs, and I'm slightly rooting for it, man. Like I would rather see a fun, chippy, young like Panthers team make the playoffs and do something rather than like an injured like team like the Buccaneers just kind of like
Yeah,
limping into it and
yeah,
just
I
be
was
an
about to
easy
say.
out for somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like limping limping yourself into the playoffs at this point would be disappointing, and I like clearly the Bucks, like from what we've seen at like what we saw at the start of the season, they are very far from that team, and it entirely isn't all their fault because of the injuries that they've had and all the bad luck that they've had, but like I'm not saying by any means like all right, just like close up shop and just rebuild for next season, but I do think that, like, it is, like, with the way things are spiraling for them and the confidence that probably sits in the Panthers locker room, like, there's you I agree with you in the sense that this Panthers team has a much better chance than how it looks on paper.
The Panthers have 4 games left in the season. They're at the Saints. They're against the Bucks at home. They're against the Seahawks at home, and then they end the season at the Bucks again. So they still have to play the Bucks twice, and they can beat the Saints this weekend potentially. This is what I'm saying. Like if they even split with the Bucks, like, right, if they, like, kinda win, like, these next 2 of the 4 and one of those is beating the Bucks.
I like how you've already kinda locked out that they're probably losing to Seattle.
Dude, I mean, just I well, like, I'm not even gonna count that out if I'm being honest, because this is, like, what's weird about the Panthers is, like, there are games, like, against the Rams where you're like, "Okay, well, they just outplayed the best team in the NFC somehow." And then so, like, I wouldn't put it, like I'm not gonna say it's, like, unrealistic for them to beat the Seahawks, but although, Jesus, man, the Seahawks, but their defense is nuts. But, yeah, I could see them splitting with the Bucks and beating the Saints, and then we're in a conversation where it's like, "Okay, Bucks, you kinda need to win out." I don't know, man. It would be a lot of fun to see the Panthers. I just wanna see it. Alright, what else you wanna talk about? Anything
Alright.
else that stood out to you this last week?
There's 2 things that I like a final one to bring up. And the first is that the Dolphins aren't entirely the worst.
Oh, okay, who said that, by the way? Who said that this last week? You were calling me a sicko, and I said, "Watch out for the Dolphins, because who's been running the ball well and having fun?"
I was wrong.
There we go.
Um,
Thank you. That's all I
but
wanted to hear.
but
That's all I
is
wanted to
it
hear.
also take it with a grain of salt because it was against the Jets.
Hey,
But
a win's a
still,
win.
it is still impressive that this this team actually has the same record as the Chiefs, both sitting at 6 and 7. With everything that we had heard about the Dolphins and all the crazy stuff that was coming out about their locker room and Tua was saying and what he wasn't saying and what he wasn't doing, for them to be 6 and 7 and, like,
It was the Jets.
it's kind of crazy. Um, but yes, it very much was the Jets, and I'm taking that with a grain of salt. And my final thing and it's someone that we really haven't talked about too much, and that's Michael Wilson.
Yes.
He has really looked good for the Cardinals this year and really has kinda had to with how, like, Marvin Harrison Jr. has kinda battled injuries and other things, I guess, just like, it seems like he's just in his head. Um, but he's really kinda taken that step up and looked really good, and this was another game, and especially the past, like, 5 weeks, really, he's just been phenomenal. But this game in particular, yes, they lost 45-17 against the Rams, but it's the Rams. But he had 11 catches for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's going to be very interesting, and obviously the Cardinals are in a weird space, and I think it's safe to say the Kyler Murray era is probably over there, and, like, it's you're moving forward into hopefully something better, and you don't know what that looks like, but there's gonna be plenty of QBs to choose from come this draft this year. So plenty of options, but I I still have stock in Kyler Murray. And I
Okay, alright, I'm glad we're talking about it because I was just having a conversation with someone earlier today about this.
they just announced that he's gonna be out, like, for the rest of the season for them, and I think that this was the most, like, obvious sign of, like, alright, like, his future here is very clearly on the rocks. If not, like, they've already decided that they're going a different direction, whether it was all of the Call of Duty stuff or just the inconsistent play where, like, I said at the start of the season that this is going to be him and Trevor Lawrence were my 2 quarterbacks that, like, I thought I needed to see the most from this season, where it was like, "I need to see results from you."
Mm.
And Trevor Lawrence, I think, has shown the results and looked pretty good. Kyler Murray, I cannot say the same about. And I still really do like him, and I think, like, you get some of these other teams who are going to be, quarterback needy, and I really would like to see him in a place like Las Vegas even, and, like, just a fresh new start. I Obviously, there's a lot to be determined with that because they don't even have an offensive coordinator, but
I don't think they have a head coach.
I just think it'd be really cool to see a Kyler Murray, Ashton Genty backfield in a sense. But
Can I offer you a Kyler Murray Breece Hall combination?
are you suggesting that Breece Hall stays with the Jets?
Yes, and
I don't
We
I
see
don't think
Kyler
that's
Murray
possible.
in New
With
York.
with the way Breece Hall talks about the Jets, I think the exact second his contract is over, probably even before that, that man will be nowhere near a New York facility.
All I'm saying is while the Jets are the Jets, they've hit on their drafts recently. Their rookie right tackle is outstanding. Membo. Okay, he's not being talked about enough. Their O line is actually not that bad. It's probably I would might actually take their O line over the Cardinals. You put Kyler behind a slightly better O line. You give him a weapon like Garrett Wilson and a running attack with Brees Hall. John Mechie and AD Mitchell have actually been playing well since they got there. They have a young tight end and Mason Taylor out of LSU who's been playing decent. We know what the defense can be. We know what the kind of coach Aaron Glenn is. He's going to coach you hard. I I don't know. Like I'm intrigued.
I like it, but my thing is, and I think this might be the thought process with both. I don't want to speak for Jets fans, but the Jets organization is how much do you want to put stock in another quarterback that has potential but hasn't exactly delivered? And I think like we after just having that experience with Justin Fields, I don't know if something that they want to run back. And to be fair, I do think Kyler Murray is a better passer than Justin Fields, while still bringing a lot of the running capabilities. But I just don't know how willing they'll be, especially considering how things have gone with the Justin Fields experiment.
This will be a really interesting conversation during the offseason of like what the Jets want to do. Um, because I mean they have all these assets like in their picks that they're going to have going forward the next couple of years, especially with all these trades that they've made. I, but
But okay, and even ironically, a team like the Colts, like who Daniel Jones is on a 1-year contract. And here's the and I said this to you when he first went down, is like this offseason is going to be very interesting because you we don't know what Daniel Jones post both this fibula and the Achilles injury is going to look like.
mhm.
And it is going to be difficult to justify, like, and especially the way he's looked these past couple weeks. And yes, a lot of it has been because he's picked up injuries, but you are gambling a lot on what you saw from the first couple weeks where teams couldn't figure him out to to come back to that level post these 2 big injuries. And I think it's going to be very difficult to justify giving him a long-term contract, which is like what, other teams who are pretty desperate are like maybe willing to do. And if you would have told me before the season that Daniel Jones has an audience of like general like genuinely teams like who are like we value him as a number one option for us, I would have called you stupid. And the fact that like we're getting to this point in the year where we're looking forward and we're saying, I'm gonna be very interested to see where Daniel Jones goes in the offseason and mean it not as a joke is like a testament to how crazy the season has been.
Yeah, yeah. It's because this football season's it's been weird, and this I think this offseason could end up being like one of the more interesting ones we've had in recent years. But I mean, Kyler Murray, the Colts own they don't have their first obviously because the Sauce Gardner trade, but they have their second. Like, do you think Kyler probably like second? It would be like the highest I would pay
Yeah.
for like a trade for Kyler Murray, but like you could probably go like a third and a player or something like that.
I think a third is probably like I think second is like you're pushing it. It's like, all right, second and I don't know if you're getting anything else from me if you're getting Kyler. But I do think that there will be an audience for him. And
Oh,
I think
100%.
and I think like a team like Oakland and both New York, I think, and I could that's off the top of my head, but I do
Steelers.
Steelers even, well, but okay, and this is going to be like an interesting talking point because a lot of these teams have been in like quarterback hell, like just
Yeah.
constant and just like cycling of through players. Kyler Murray is 28 years old, so like you're still not like if you were to sign him and say that you're able to get like a consistent Kyler Murray who is on the field, not worrying about Call of Duty stuff, and you're getting him like at least solid level, you maybe have max 4 years of him. Is that like and yes, that's a lot more stability than someone like the Steelers or even the Jets have had for however long, 10 years going, at least for the Steelers and Jets even further back than that. So I think it's going to be a question of like, is it do you like how like what is your championship window? How really do you like, do you view Kyler Murray as a piece of like a transitional quarterback, or is he like a piece to like kind of add to your roster where it's like he can take us and be a much better option and give us that extra push to be a competing team?
Yeah, yeah. I I don't know because I mean we also don't know like man because there's less quarterback needy teams than I think most people would think in the NFL. Like, but there's always gonna be like 4 or 5. They're gonna need somebody. But I had a random thought. All right, Rams. They go on. They win the Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford retires. Could you see a Sean McVay Kyler Murray connection? They have the Falcons' first round pick, and they have all these assets. Not that they would use that, but I'm saying like they have ways to get another quarterback.
I like it, but it I don't know.
I'm just throwing. This is just throwing stuff. Though. Okay, we got to move on to our matchups for this
Yeah.
next week. But yeah, I don't know. This was just a thought that came ahead. All right, let's move on to our matchup for the next week. I will start with my game of the week as always because you're always worried I'm going to pick something disgusting. Uh, I'm going to go. This one is pretty simple for me. I went with the Lions and the Rams. This is we're competing for the conference at this point. The Lions are kind of fighting for their division still at this point. They desperately need a win. The Rams are a little less desperate, but the Seahawks are right there on them. So two teams where it's like you're gonna make the playoffs most likely. The Lions a little less of a chance, but I'm just really curious like O line, D line, right? Can Jared first take advantage of what's been kind of a less than stellar that we're used to? Uh, Lions O line there. Are we going to see any like Amon-Ra St. Brown, James Williams just torching Emmanuel Forbes kind of thing? Because Emmanuel Forbes seems to get torched at least once a week. I want to see the running attack with Kyron Williams kind of trying to go up against these Lions linebackers, which have been pretty underrated this year as a unit. I think they've done it really, really well there with their defensive coordinator, Kelvin Shepard. So there's a lot of factors there where it's like you have this like first year defensive coordinator, which I think he's done a fantastic job going against Sean McVay. Obviously, we know what he is as an offensive play caller and as an offensive mind in general. But then it's also Dan Campbell going against a also newer defensive coordinator in Shula in his like second year now. So I want to see how they do. They've been dealing with some injuries, but this is a Lions team where last year it was like their offense was just killing everybody, but they've kind of been gone through certain waves this year. So I want to see can they go against a team that they would most likely would have to see again in the playoffs if they get to where they want to go, like in a conference championship game.
Yeah. My game of the week, and I was between 2 naturally, as I always am. But one I'm leaning towards is the Packers versus the Broncos.
Good
And
one.
really one, like you can look at that on paper and say 2 elite defenses who offenses are you're looking for that final push to really kind of cement yourself as top tier. And the team that I look at particularly in this is the Broncos. Because I think their offense, especially, and yes, they there's always a stat of them turning up in the fourth quarter and Bo Nix being the best when he's coming from behind or in these clutch moments. But at some point, it it isn't going to matter, and you need your offense to be more consistent. And I think I trust me as an Eagles fan who has seen it week in and week out. I need to see more consistency from the Broncos offense really and just really kind of cement themselves as like we lean on our defense a lot, and yes, they're coming in clutch, but, 2 weeks ago, they almost lost to the Commanders, and it was mostly in part to their offense, like, just kinda struggling, and then you have Nick Bonito making these clutch plays last minute and literally winning the game for you himself, like, this is I just wanna see if the Broncos offense can play a full 4 quarters and be consistent under Bo Nix, and yes, 'cause I think he's capable of it, I just need to see it.
I'm glad you picked this one because my unit matchup was Packers offense against Denver defense. Because of like I was like you said, like we're kind of like is with both offenses, you're waiting for that like final, like, okay, like are we gonna put this all together? And if there's a game to show that you've got it put together, it's having a good one against this Denver defense, which is top 3 in the NFL. Um, but to go with what you're saying on the other side of the ball, Micah Parsons, this is a game he can take over, I think, 100%. And like players like him, Keyshawn Nixon in the back end, like that's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. I don't know who's gonna cover Cortland Sutton. I don't. I don't know what DB they have on their team that's gonna be able to do that. Xavier McKinney might be shading to his side a lot. And then who is it? I'm curious. Do you think Pat Surtain goes against Christian Watson in this one? Do you think that would
I
be who you would have him follow?
I would assume so,
He's
yeah.
been popping off, man. Christian Watson, since he's came back, has been good. So I think that would maybe where I would put him. But like, there's a lot of good like individual and like other matchups in this game. So yeah, I'm glad we were both kind of on the same page with that one. All right, what was your
Alright,
unit matchup?
my my unit matchup, and I'm gonna stay away from the Lions, and Lions offense versus Rams defense one because you kinda hit on that in your game, of the week. So I'll say another one that you talked about very briefly, it's going to be the Dolphins running backs versus the Steelers linebackers.
Hell yes,
We
I'm
have
so glad you picked this. Let's go.
we have the Steelers defense, which is struggling to stop the run. We have the Dolphins running backs who are looking fun and exciting.
Who are looking to continue a 5-game winning streak.
Yep. And if they win this, we are going to see these two teams at seven games apiece, both wins and losses, which would be crazy for the Dolphins season considering how things have started for them.
Yeah, yeah, I'm glad you picked up. I actually looked at the one, but I was like, you're the one with the sicko pick this week. Let's go.
That is not a sickle pick with the way that the like I with the way Devon Achane has been playing and the way the Steelers run game has been struggling or defensive run game has been struggling, it just makes sense. Like it's not a sickle pick. Like I didn't go, I want to see hell the Titans and the 49ers.
Hmm. Okay. Do you
I'm
want to hear
sorry,
my play?
did you want to watch the Commanders and Giants at this point in the season?
Ooh, do I want to watch the Commanders and the Giants? Let's see. Do I want to watch Brian Burns chase Marcus Mariota down? Not really. I'm good on that one. Yeah, no, that's a good call. Okay. My player matchup. This one you might give me some shit for.
Uh,
I have Chase Young against Ike Ekwonu of the Panthers. Uh listen, two and I can this is one of those things I can explain it. I promise you.
you don't got much of a choice to, so.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oops, sorry. I'm messing up my lighting here. Look, Chase Young has been really underrated this year. All right, he has one of the best pressure percentages in the league. I know he's with the Saints, no one's paying attention, but he has been one of the better edge rushers when it comes to getting pressure, especially quick pressures off of the edge. He even gave Tristan Wirfs some like fits when they were playing against each other. Right, he's had some really good games this year. He's about to go against EQ Kwanu, who has also been an underrated guy, right? You remember like his rookie season, they're like, oh my God, he only let up like 6 sacks the entire season. Like he's playing really well. And then he kind of struggled like after that for the season. But now he's back to playing like really, really well to the point where reports are already coming out that the Panthers are saying like their first priority this offseason is to re-sign Ike Ekwonu because he's been playing that well protecting Bryce Young. So I want to see what happens here. It's a divisional game. It's a game that would really matter for the Panthers, and I want to see can Chase Young continue to do this against a divisional opponent, a tackle that has done extremely well this year for himself and earned himself some money. And Chase Young has been this sort of like since he left the Commanders, kind of a mercenary kind of role. Like we'll see with like a Jadeveon Clowney, like where it's like you sign with different teams, and he did that with the Saints, and the Saints liked him so much that they re-signed him. And the Panthers were actually a team that were rumored to try and sign Chase Young this last offseason. So I don't know. I just think this is a fun one. It's a little sicko, but it is two players who are playing very well at their respective positions, like at a top tier level that no one's really talking about. And I just think it could be a fun watch.
I like the term mercenary.
Yeah.
Just like as especially like defensive end, like any defensive line position, like it's like all right, like we know exactly what we expect you to do.
It's like your Leonard Floyd, your Chase Youngs, your Jadeveon Clowney's, right? Like who Jadeveon Clowney, by the way, has been pretty like decent at times for the
So
Cowboys.
okay,
But
so you mentioning this reminds me of a player who actually just kind of came out, well, I guess a semi-retirement type of
oh
deal.
my God, Jason Pierre-Paul.
Okay, I'm glad you knew who I was talking about and I didn't have to say it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I there's a lot that I could be said about him, but I think it's cool that I like seeing these last minute type of spurts of players, and especially Jadeveon Clowney. I think like kind of set the bar for like you're old, all right, go out there and play your role. And we saw the same thing from Zadarius Smith, but maybe he saw something that we like he saw what the potential of what the Eagles offense could become and was like, I don't wanna deal with this. I'm heading out of here." Which, to be fair, I don't blame him if that was his mindset. Um, but yeah, that I just wanted to bring that up, the fact that we're still talking about Jason Pierre-Paul in 2025.
Yeah, just keep away from all those pyrotechnics in Tampa, and
Yeah,
we'll be all right.
I was about to say, 'cause they fire off the cannon after every, like, touchdown? I was like,
Field
I
goal
don't
too.
know. Yeah, I might be pretty worrisome to Jason Pierre-Paul to be around that. My player matchup, though, and okay, we always poke fun at the Cowboys and, like, and say, like, "Alright, who's playing them on the offensive end? Who needs to find rhythm? Who needs to have a good game and go out
Mhm.
there and do it against this Cowboys defense?" 'Cause every asset of the game, whether it's, and to be fair, they've improved in the run game since they traded with the Jets and really kind of just improved their defensive line, but they still have Deron Bland at corner. Trevon Diggs is on IR, and after I saw Bland get put on his ass, oh, not his ass, he had his ass up in the air, against the
Bro.
Lions on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah,
I
I forgot about that. Yeah, he churned him around, bro. Like, if you're facing the sideline while your receiver is running an in-breaking route, just wrap it up. Like,
Yeah.
we're done here.
I I actually have that saved on my phone of Marvin Harrison just frying this man, without even touching him, and that stands with me. Either way, the Cowboys this week go up against the Vikings, and the Vikings
Right.
are coming off a really solid, pretty, by their standards, and especially JJ McCarthy and all the criticism he's received, coming off a good offensive week.
Yeah.
And I really want to see if this is if they can continue off this, and really this is a Justin Jefferson, go out there and show the world why you are Justin Jefferson type of game. And I think
Mm,
that this is the perfect type of look, we know what the Cowboys, like, are capable of, and I think this could be a very sneaky, high-scoring game where it's like, alright,
ooh.
the Cowboys are going to do what they do with CeeDee Lamb, or CeeDee Lamb's concussion protocol. George Pickens has been one of the best receivers in the league, which is kinda crazy to say, and then you have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison as well, where it's like this, if this Vikings offense can continue any type of momentum that they did last week, that this could just turn into a shootout type of game.
I agree with you. You're right. This is kind of like an underrated one like that. Like, we always try to call those out each week, and I agree with you. This could be that where if especially the Vikings, like they struggle to run. They've been a little bit better with the run lately, but if they struggle to run in this one, we might just see both quarterbacks just air it out right here between Justin Jefferson and like George Pickens, all that. And George Pickens can, start being back how he was a few weeks ago and stop throwing, I don't know what's been going on with him. It's like Steelers fans have just been like pointing like, I told you, I told you. It's like, all right, well, he's still been like
Yeah,
elite
he's
up
still
to this
top
point.
3 in
Yeah,
receiving
yeah,
yards.
he's still
I
having a
don't
great
care.
season.
Give him a quarter throw, a hissy fit. He's still finishing with 100 yards in a game,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
couldn't
like
care less.
I'll take that. Like, I would take that any day. It's like he's earned himself some money this year. So I'm sorry every once in a while he's not gonna catch the ball because of like a bad route or whatever. But like I think he's gonna be fine, if I'm being honest. Um, I don't know. What are you laughing at? All right. Oh man, I did, dude. Just this was one of our. I haven't yelled this much on one of our NFL shows in a while. That was
The Eagles sure do this to you.
the Eagles, man. Like, I thought I got all of it out last night after the game. I was kind of like had to let some steam out, but clearly I still had some left in the tank. Okay, that unless you have anything else to talk about the NFL, because we're about to move on to the NBA.
No, nothing else NFL. I don't even wanna think about that. Okay, my last thing is that I do feel like, as we especially as we continue to get into playoffs,
Mhm.
these games are really good. And I didn't mention the Bills Patriots because I like, it's kind
Yeah.
of an obvious layup, but I think this could turn into another very interesting game, and, of course, you could say that just looking at the 2 teams and just the stats of how they are, but, like, 2 high-scoring offenses, and I think that this could be a game where it turns, ironically, into alright, who, like, what defense can get a stop when it matters most? And I think that
Mm,
this is, like, this feels like that type of game where it's like we either see a classic Josh Allen play, or we're seeing one of the defenses make a stop and get the interception that kinda seals a game like this. So and I don't know which one, like, if it's I can't, I'm trying to definitively say if I think it's going to be a Bills type of stop where they do enough to win a game, or if it's the Patriots, and I don't know, and I think that speaks a lot to the, like, how unpredictable the AFC East has really become, where typically this would be, all right, the Bills are the much better team. The Patriots are going to make this interesting, but we know who's coming out on top, and you can't say the same this year.
Yeah, the Patriots have like they've had one of the easier schedules this year, and that's not to like discredit like the season that they've had because it has been really good. And Drake May is in MVP considerations for a reason, but they have feasted on bad defenses this year, and the Bills have not been a great defense this year, except for in spot moments where all of a sudden they're just like, oh, we're just going to turn it on now, and like just like this last week where they were like picking off Joe Burrow. So this is like a fun little divisional game where it's like, can the Bills turn it up when they need to and like make this playoff push that they kind of really need to do? Not that they're going to miss the playoffs, but the seeding matters, man. But dude, yeah, Bills Mafia, what's up? Because Josh Allen, I think, could pop off this game for real. I really do think like I don't I don't know, man. Like this is if the Bills lose this, there's gonna be some weird conversations about the future of the team. I think.
Yeah, and okay, so something you mentioned a couple weeks ago is Josh Allen, and you said, like, sometimes you wanna see him just let loose, and I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
want
since
unconscious Josh Allen.
but I feel like since then, we've seen negatively unconscious Josh Allen, where it's like it becomes more of a detriment for the team than a positive. Like, do you feel like this is like to what degree do you think there's a balance, and, like, where do you see it, like, where do you put the line at, like, this is the like, this is where he's playing unconscious and it's positive, and this is where he's unconscious and it's negative?
Mm, yeah, I'm trying to listen. Yeah, Johnny. Tell Johnny congrats on college war before me. But yeah, man. I'm
Your
a
twin, I think you look just like Kyle Schwarber, and I would die on that hill. That is your
I
twin.
dude, when I was bartending there in the city, I heard that every single night. It was either they would see my last name and be like, "Are you related to Blankenship?" And depending how he played the previous week, which lately I don't know if I want to be, told tell people I'm related to him, but yeah, Schwarber all the time, especially when I had my glasses off, which wasn't all the time, but yeah, I heard it a lot. Less out here. People in California don't really follow baseball like that. East Coast baseball at least. It's all about the Dodgers.
I
So
was gonna say.
yeah, you kind of look like Coach. Yeah, thanks, Johnny. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, appreciate it. I know I've been a little huskier lately, but yeah, appreciate y'all. All right, let's move on. I'm ready to stop talking football because I'm gonna get pissed off
Oh,
again.
this is where we
So
talk about baseball? We're
no,
transitioning
not base. Sorry, basketball.
to
Basketball. I'm definitely not talking baseball because the Dodgers are just gonna cause a lockout here pretty soon. All right, let's move on. I don't think. Do you need to take a break? I don't need to take a break.
jump right
All right,
into it.
let's do it. Let's move on to the NBA, man. Very excited to talk about it. We touched on a little bit of like the headlines that were coming up the last time we were here for our last NFL show, talk about like CP3 and Giannis. There's been a little bit more that's come out since then about it. Not too much, but I did want to ask you with the CP3 stuff. First of all, still crazy like the way the Clippers handle this entire thing. But now we're being told from reporting that Chris Paul is talking with the Clippers about like possible best destinations to trade him, which they can start to do next week. They can start looking at trade destinations for him. Are there any teams that come to your mind that you think Chris Paul would be great for right now?
I will.
And I'm not even saying just the on-court product, but like
Yeah.
the vet leadership kind of thing.
Yeah, I okay. I what I'll say is that, like, what you're going to get for Chris Paul is going to be it's not going to be a lot.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of teams realize that, but it really is going to be for that youth leadership, the same thing that he was doing with the Clippers that they were frowned upon for whatever reason. Like at this point in his career, what you're getting from Chris Paul is that veteran leadership, and the fact
Yeah.
that like the Clippers were like, "Why are you being a veteran leader for this team?" And yes, like to be fair, they have the unction, so it's like you really like it's hard to be a veteran when everyone's a veteran.
Yeah.
But I still think that like what you're getting from Chris Paul is essentially another coach,
Mm,
as a player. And if that's the case, then I think there's a couple of young teams where it's like you and I think the Wizards like are a team where it's like they have a lot of young talent where it's like maybe if there's one that they're not entirely high on that they could say like, all right, like things just haven't worked out. We'll trade you over to like LA. It's low cost for us. And we get a Chris Paul in here who can be that veteran. But to be fair, I think the Wizards have a couple of veteran pieces and a Chris Middleton and a CJ McCollum over there, where it's like obviously it's not up to the level of Chris Paul, but they have that mentorship over there. I still am on the will die on the hill that I think he'd be great for OKC, and continue to and yes, like, what more help do they need at this point? But I do think that, like, he
How
plays
long
a
did that take in our NBA that for you to talk about?
like, t I was holding that's why I started with the Trailblazers or not the Trailblazers. I thought about Trailblazers, and I think they're a potential team as well, another young team, but I don't know, like yes, these are all, like, hypotheticals of, like, we don't know
Mm.
entirely, like, what the pieces would be, and I think he'd be a great addition there as well. But I I think he played a very important role in the development of Shea that, like, isn't necessarily talked about a lot. And yes, look, I know I'm bringing up Shea early already, but
We were gonna talk about him later, don't worry. I
yeah,
was gonna bring him up if you didn't, which I already knew you were, so I was ready. But, what you like
either way, the development he played in Shea's career of turning him he played a crucial part in turning him into the player that we know him as today. And
mm,
I think if that's the case, like, what will he do with the J-Dub? What will he continue to do with the Chat? And even though they don't play the same position, like, it's still, like, those veteran leadership things where it's like you see Chris Paul, like, know more about the NBA handbook than some referees. Like, it's like that type of knowledge is it would be transferable to anybody on the OKC team, and the fact that they're a championship team that is still so young, like, it would be really beneficial to see what he would do with a player like AJ Mitchell, who's really kinda taking that next step this season, and what his next progression is, because I think that is what OKC is looking for, is what more can we get out of these players, especially when you have so many draft picks, and if you, like, aren't up to the standard of what they think, then they can easily say, "Alright, we'll draft somebody who is," or, "We'll trade with these picks to a desperate team who can fill the need." So I just think, like, either
the
way,
greed. The greed is crazy.
yeah, I'll just take it for what it is. Um,
Um,
yeah. But I do think, like, that's a pipe dream of mine, but I do think Portland is a team that, like, I will look at and say, like, "Alright, they would need that type of leader and veteran presence."
my only thing with the Portland one is that you already have Lillard on the bench coaching up the younger guys like Scoot, and Drew Holiday is also there, although he's been injured in and out. But so I don't know if they would need him as much. The team I first landed on was the Timberwolves, and it's partly for the reason you were just saying for OKC and what he was able to do for Shea and all them while they were developing as guards. Anthony Edwards has been had to be used this year as their primary guard for Minnesota. And while he hasn't been terrible at it, there's clearly like a lot of like the on the job training stuff that he's doing for that role with the Timberwolves. So, and they clearly like Mike Conley is doing what he can out there for you. Your boy Rob Dillingham has been like bad. Like I don't know how else to put it, man. Like Rob Dillingham has become so unplayable that we're watching Bones Highland get minutes.
Yeah,
So
I'll take an L on that one, 'cause I really did believe that, like, Rob Dillingham was going to be so much better this season.
he's just been bad, man. It's actually been really disappointing. But I think Chris Paul could be a good fit there, man. Like if you want a guy who can come in, make sure that everyone plays hard, holds people accountable. He cares about the offense and defensive aspect of it, but who can teach a guy like Anthony Edwards, like, hey, look, man, as a guard, these are the things you need to be looking for. These are the plays you need to be making. Like that, I think that would be great for Anthony Edwards, who has been having a fantastic season, but a lot he's been thrusted into an even bigger role than he already had because of the lack of guard that they have, lead guard especially. So I think that was like the number one team I landed on.
Okay, on the same page of a Rob Dillingham's, there's another player who also had I needed to take a second year step and has taken a much better step in a player like Reed Shepherd. Do
Mm,
you think it'd be worthwhile for Houston? And yes, they still do have, like, Fred VanVleet, who's been injured this entire season, and he obviously is their veteran presence, but do you think it would be a good idea to bring someone else in, especially because the Timberwolves and the not Timberwolves, the Rockets, and the way that they are constructed, it's so much size, like, and not just size, but athleticism, and specifically with a player like a Ben Thompson,
mhm.
what would Chris Paul unlock with him? Especially because we've constantly seen him, like, with the elite athleticism, but what is it what will he be like when we talk about, like, him increasing his basketball IQ, him starting to understand it and, like, really process the court in a different way? Like, I think, like, he obviously, the fact that we're able to throw Chris Paul into so many of these teams and it could potentially work, I think that says a lot to how much crazy that we value Chris Paul more than the Clippers do, and the fact that, like, he's
Well, they
still
don't seem
able
to
to
value him at
get
all.
this. Yeah. It just shows a lot that, like, there's still a lot of potential left still.
I kinda like the Houston fit, but I do like it. I think that it would be beneficial to have him, like, on the bench. He wouldn't have to play that many minutes, if any at all, really, because Reed Shepherd and Aaron Holiday have both actually been playing, like, really well for them, at the guard spot, which has been, I think, a nice surprise for them, especially the Aaron Holiday part. Like, I do think that part's been like, "Oh, okay, like, now we got 2 guys who can do this for us." Then they'll still miss Fred VanVleet in spot situations, especially, like, in clutch moments, but Reed Shepherd has been playing well enough that, yeah, if you bring a Chris Paul in, like, to help, like you said, like, a second year kinda guy to go through that, I don't think that would be bad. I think the one factor we do have to consider though with Chris Paul, like going to any other team, is the personality aspect of Chris Paul, which was a big factor of why he got released from the Clippers in the first place, or he's going to be released from the Clippers in the first place. Because I mean, all the reporting coming out is like yes, he's holding people accountable, but then there's also reporting that he was changing defensive alignments and schemes mid play over what's his name? Their defensive guy. He used to call basketball games, but uh, either way,
Um, yeah, not clicking.
I'm blanking on his name right now. He's bald, but yeah.
Alright, that
All right. But yeah, either way, like I think that does have to be considered in it because like you bring in a Chris Paul with like an Ime Udoka and KD and guys like that. Like, are they going to mesh that well? Is he going to be like fit into that locker room? I do think that is a big aspect with Chris Paul because his personality, it's very intense, but it's also well known that he's like that. So you like part of me also is like with the Clippers. I'm like, what did you expect with Chris Paul? Like you've had him in that building before. You guys know who he is as a person. Why are we acting surprised that he was acting this way with y'all? Like he's a very intense person who's going to hold you accountable, who's going to call out things, and who just wants to win. And he's going to do whatever he can, even if he's not on the court, to make something happen. So I do think that is also one aspect to consider with that.
yeah, but okay, so if we're talking about, like, crazy locker rooms, I assume he's not we're not seeing a Draymond Green potential collab here between him and Chris Paul?
Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Chris Paul in the same place. No. And then even Podziemski, dude, like the stuff he's been saying lately about how he could be like an Otani type of player. And Jeff Van Gundy, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know about that one. Yeah. No, unless you just really want to start some stuff in the middle of a game, but you just need a guy to go out there and be like a part of the goon squad. But yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't want to see that grumpy old man team. Yeah, that is the kind of the Clippers right now, honestly. Terrible team.
Yeah,
Terrible team.
I couldn't be more thankful because
I hate
every
you.
every Clippers loss, we get closer to
I hate
OKC
you.
improving. Oh,
And can we all right. No, this is good because my next note that I want to talk about is James Harden specifically and how he is single-handedly trying to carry this Clippers team towards not out of mediocrity, towards mediocrity because that's how bad they've been. They're so god awful. And I know people are going to talk about like, oh, like, by the way, Harden just became he passed Carmelo Anthony to be 10th all time on the list of scoring. So congratulations to him. One of my favorite players ever to watch, one of the best scorers we've ever seen in the league. He is still doing that at his age right now in his mid 30s for the Clippers. He is carrying just the entire team right now on offense, it feels like, with spot moments with Kawhi Leonard when, although it seems like he's afraid to dunk the ball at times, but James Harden the drives are still good. The shooting is still good. Like, I think he's actually playing somewhat better on offense this year than he was last year when we were already impressed with him. The problem is no one is fucking helping him. Brooke Lopez is barely playing at this point. He was supposed to be your backup to Zubac, who's also having a down year. So all this depth that you were supposed to have, including Chris Paul, who was factored into your depth, are just like either just unplayable or hurt or about to be traded away. Like the Clippers just screwed this up entirely. The most disappointing team. So I don't know. Maybe this is just a shout out to James Harden and FU to the Clippers right now, but I don't know what they do. Like, what do you do if you're the Clippers?
and we talked about this last week, is that you don't have any future with the draft picks because they belong to other teams, and then you don't have any young up and coming stars that you can put your future into, and but they already tried the rebranding thing. They tried this with the whole new stadium, the whole new wall, and building it only for like the real Clippers fans and all of that. We're far too late for all of this. Like
Yeah, sell the team, go to Seattle. Yeah.
what is it? You this fixation with Seattle. Seattle is OKC. Let's just, they're together. They are one.
Keep going.
I don't know where he's going with this, but either way, all this to say is that, and guess what they became? Guess what they became?
Stole a franchise from a city. That's what y'all did. Stole a franchise from a city. And you
And
know
guess
it was
what?
shady because
And
it's
guess what?
documented. People
It
went to court over this. It was shady.
it only gets worse
Shout out
because
Mark Cuban being the only owner that voted against it. Sorry.
it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, OKC is a champion, and things will only get better. And okay, I'll knock this out very briefly. Just my OKC portion and just talking about them. There is the stat that like all of their wins, right? They've only had one loss in the season, 23-1. Insane. OKC's starting lineup from last season has played 0 minutes together on the court.
Mm-hmm.
That is scary. It's constantly been conversations about like, oh well, it's OKC can only get better once J-Dub gets back and he's fully integrated into this team, and then you get like everyone healthy, and like at this point, it's like it doesn't even matter. Like you don't even fully need them healthy because you have players like Brendan Carlson, who I've seen in late
Bro,
game.
what the hell? Every time I was gonna bring him up later. By the way, thanks for that poll. Where the hell did he come from?
So I've
I
only
saw this white boy in a mask out there hooping. I was like, they got another one? I was like, where do you find these guys, man? How is it that even the guys you call up from the G League are hooping?
I was gonna say he's been a G League project for them for at least the past couple years, and it's crazy because he's only really played naturally in blowout games. Like if it's late minutes where it's like an empty the bench type of game where it's like it doesn't matter towards the later half of the season. So I was a bit confused myself to see him out there like in the first quarter. And to be fair, it's against the Jazz. And as we sit
Yeah.
here, um,
Yeah, I watched like the first quarter and a half of that game, and I was like, okay, I'm done.
as we mentioned at the very first episode of this, if the Jazz get 25 wins, I have to buy a Ace Bailey jersey, and they're at 8 wins right now.
Hey, halfway to their mark from last year. Let's go.
And
Good job, Jazz.
they're not hitting 25, and I would not be buying a jersey.
I hope you're wrong.
Either way, OKC has looked really impressive, and this will be all the talking I'll do about them because they do it to themselves.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, a team. Well, okay, never. I'm not gonna get into that with the Jazz again. But Larry Markkinen was like been out sick too, so like that doesn't help. But 15 win streak inbound. Yeah, listen, if the Jazz go on a 15 game win streak, I will streak at the pier at LA. How about that? I will do that.
Okay, wait. Okay, I'm sorry. Like let's take a time to really process this. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
You you
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
out of all the things you could say, there was plenty of opportunities to say like I would drink apple cider vinegar. I would like,
Good for you.
I would do all this crazy stuff. And your first thing was streaking.
It's nice out here. The weather's good. It'd probably be nice. Plus, it's probably not that weird for LA to have that happen out there at the beach. So all right. Anyway, yeah, I said what I said. All right, let me move on to the next one because I want to kind of get through some like headline type stuff, and then we can go into like more specifics with the teams and the players. But the only other kind of like it was less of a headline, but more of just like kind of like a cool moment kind of thing that happened. Although this player pissed me off recently. LeBron James.
Oh, I knew where you were going when you said that. Yeah.
He came back finally from his whatever injury, old man injury he was dealing with.
It was a
With his
scadia, right? And
yeah,
yeah.
sciatica, whatever it is, which I've always felt like a made up thing that you would hear in like TV shows, like doctor shows. But anyways, LeBron came back and let that man streak. Let the Jazz streak, and then you can see me streak first. All right, one streak at a time. LeBron comes back, and there was a game against Toronto a few games ago. We all know the streak that LeBron had. Like, he scored 10 points for however, I think it was like over 1,000 games, right? Or something like
Yeah,
that.
so I'm actually looking at the last time he didn't score 10 points. He scored 8 points, against the Bucks when he was on the Cavs, and it was January 5th to 2007.
Were you
And
alive? No.
yes, I very much was alive, yes. Um, It's crazy because I'm looking at it shows the stat line of all the other players. Drew Gooden was on this team and was the leading scorer for them this game with 31 points and 16 rebounds. LeBron had 8 points, Ilgauskas had 11 points and 8 rebounds, Eric Snow, 4 points, and Larry Hughes with 22 points. I would've been 3 because my
Oh my
birthday.
god, he don't even know you. How did he clock that? What the hell?
I was born 2003, and my birthday isn't until well, actually, it's coming up December 13th, so, I would have been 3, I wouldn't have turned 4 yet, so
Damn. Yeah, Johnny, what you know about that? All right, but anyway, so the streak ends. They played Toronto. It's a close game, and the way the streak ends actually felt kind of poetic. Has a game. He has a chance to take a shot. Like he could have taken a shot, but instead he defers to Rui Hachimura, passes it to him in the corner. He hits a game-winning three, basically, and that's how his streak ends when he had 8 points. So honestly, like it ends. It's like it was a crazy moment, but it was a fun poetic way for that streak to end. Which it's a streak that I don't know if anyone will ever beat. Honestly, that seems like one of those records that seems impossible to break. Um, but then also after that, he pisses me off because then he has his season high of the year, 29 points, and he torches the Sixers in the fourth quarter to beat them in what was a interesting game where Luca came back from like 24 hours earlier before that. He was back in his home country in Slovenia, and he had just had another kid, and then he flies back to Philly to play against us. It goes like 9 of 24. So LeBron's like, oh, I got it, and decides to have his best game of the year against the Sixers. So pissed me off after that. But hey, whatever. Shout out to him, I guess. All right. Was there any other like headline things we had to touch before we move on?
honestly, like, as crazy as things were for, like, the past, like, last time we talked, which was,
Mhm.
like, the Giannis stuff and the Chris Paul things have been
Yeah.
relatively quiet since then, and it's just been, like, hoops, which I couldn't be
Amazing.
more thankful for. Um, but okay, there's a couple of performances that I wanted to get to, and there's been one player in particular who I think, like, from the moment he was drafted, there was a lot of,
Okay, okay,
malign
wait, hold on,
craziness.
because they're literally I already know where you're going with this. They were my first team/player I wanted to talk about today, and I'm so glad we are both that sicko that that's what we're starting with in our team and player shoutouts. Can I guess who you're gonna say?
Yes,
Derek Queen.
of course.
Let's go. All right, go ahead. Preach.
Alright, Derek Queen has been cooking, and I think there's no other way to say it, and the expectations after the trade and just what the draft picks that were put for this man to come here and everything and all the expectations, like, it ramped up once. What are y'all doing in the group in the chat about? I keep looking at it, and I can't focus. I can't do
I
it.
don't know. All right, appreciate y'all. But yeah, Derek Queen, not Dairy Queen, but although they call him DQ there in New Orleans as a hey, but yeah, yeah. Go ahead, talk about him because
Yes, okay.
yeah,
So, okay, on paper, he's averaging 13, 6, and 4,
right.
but he's averaging, like, it on 50% shooting. But the man has, like, and I think a lot of what we've seen, ironically, like, at least in college, a lot of stuff that I heard was like, alright, like, he has potential of being like this, like, and I think it's a bit dramatic to say, like, he's a Jokic style of
Yeah,
player where it's
anytime there's
like
a center who can make a pass,
yeah,
that's
that
not
and
just a regular chest pass. Like, oh, Jokic.
yeah, like, "Oh, you're so smooth," and it's like God forbid a big fella catch a little bit of a vibe and, looks smooth out on the court, and they're like, "Alright, you like, that's Jokic."
God
But
forbid a center's got a little motion. Jeez.
yeah, like, alright, so he scored a game high 33 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists, and 4 points,
Four
um,
blocks.
yeah, up against the Spurs, which the Spurs are, I think, a very interesting team themselves. But I think it's just been great to see Derek Queen really kind of start to play to the level that I think a lot of people know he's capable of. And if this is the floor, and I think we've seen a lot of great rookie performances and like ups and downs as there typically are with rookies. I think that this is more a flash of, like, what we can come to see and that this can be I don't obviously 33, 10 and 10 isn't going to be consistent every game, but if that is, like, you can expect him to pop off for that randomly, then maybe the Pelicans aren't, maybe they knew something that, rest of us didn't, so
Well, I mean, dude, I went back and rewatched this game too. Like, especially on offense, he's been really, really impressive with like okay, we were just kind of joking, but like, oh, a center makes a pass, but like his passes are legitimately like good and on time. Like if you ever give him the ball near the elbow or the top of the key, he's posting up and he's looking. His eyes are up. He's not just looking at the basket. And if there's an open cutter, he's finding them. There were several bounce passes in this triple double game where we were like, holy crap! By the way, he's the only rookie this year so far to get a triple double. He was making just these on time passes to Trey Murphy and like Jeremiah Fears, like whenever they're making these cuts, which by the way, I need to talk about Fears as well. And then he had like a crazy skip pass to Trey Murphy at one point for a three. It was like he was kind of one of the main reasons this game was even close. Obviously, you have a triple double, it's going to be that way. But and then it was not just like what he's doing like at the half court. Even in transition, he would get a rebound and take it all the way up to the court and finish at the basket. So it's like he's doing all these things where like as a rookie center, it's crazy impressive. And it's a great sign for New Orleans, who I still think the way they went about this trade and what they gave up for it was too much. Like it didn't need to be like protected the way it is and everything like that. Like they could have gone about that better. But the fact that he is looking this good already and we're in December of his rookie season, like there's got to be at least a little bit of a sigh of relief for the Pelicans where you're like, okay, like like, yeah, we don't have our pick, but at least like we have a guy who we think we can move with going forward. And on the other end of that, I also think they found that with Jeremiah Fears. Dude, I'm a big Jeremiah Fears fan after watching him so far in this like rookie season. I know he's only 19 years old, but like he's got some legit speed. He's fast as hell. He is like it's not like Tyrese Maxey, but it's close, man. Like he's blowing by people. His shot is smooth. He's not taking like bad shots right now. Like his shot selection is good. His passes are good, but I think I need him and Derek Queen to extent as well to cut down on the turnovers. But you kind of expect that with like young rookie guards. Dude, I'm a fan. Like I don't know how to explain. Like Jeremiah Fears, like he can score. I think his defense is decent, and it can only get better. He's crashing the boards. He's fighting for rebounds over like forwards. I don't know, man. Like I'm a big fan of these two rookies in New Orleans. So my question to you then is, what are we doing with Zion?
Okay. Okay. I I think they should have okay, and okay.
It's
Ah,
complicated.
yeah. Okay. That's like the fourth time I've said that.
By the way, New Orleans is like one of the worst teams in the league still, even with all they only have 3 wins.
They have a lot of potential, and my initial thought was to say you should have traded Zion and there's always the memes about like the inevitable cycle of here we are in the season, and it's the start of the season, and it's uh, Zion Media Day photo, and I think that should have been the moment where they traded Zion, because what inevitably happens is
Okay.
Zion Media Day photo, Zion starts to play good, Zion gets hurt, Zion, mediocre or like mediocre or plays inconsistent amount of time throughout the season, and then we go all the way back to the media day. And I think if they should have traded him when it was like, all right, Zion looks good, he looks like actually healthy, he's lost weight, he's moving good, he hits that point in the season where he's starting to look good. All right, you trade him because if and especially with how they started the season, there wasn't a lot of hope. And I'll admit I was very, very high on the Pelicans because I was like, all right, Jordan Poole, Zion Williamson. I almost said Zion Stanford. Wrong connection there. It seemed like it could have been potentially a very good team, and especially
Mm.
with two of these young rookies who have like now starting to step up and look good, but it just didn't click. And I think if that was the case and you really wanna go all in on these rookies, all right, yes, they're in a position where it's like if you trade Zion, you don't know what exactly you're going to get in return, but it would probably at least be a pick that you could potentially use this year where you don't feel like you're completely left in the wind with how things went, like with during the offseason when you traded up to get Derek Queen. So it's just they're in a lose-lose position. And I think like I I wanna say, like, you can trade Zion, but at what point, like, and what are you able to get for him? It's just not realistic.
Do they have 6 rookies? Probably about. I know they've got at least 3 that are getting playing time, and 2 of them are playing pretty well. Um, yeah, the Zion thing is like he is still when he's on the court, he's good. Like he is good. The defense has been lacking at times. It just depends on his energy and effort at times, and like what he has to do on offense at times too, because there's only so much you can do on defense when you're the main guy on offense. But part of me wants to see like, okay, can he actually put together like come back healthy here soon and like actually put together more of a full season and we see what this looks like with the young guys and
But I mean, we say this every
yeah, and
season,
that's
like
where I'm going. It's like but it was like we always see how this ends. It's like, "Oh, he looks good," but he's only out there for like 30, 40 games a year, and you're like, all right." Even when we get to the play-in tournament with him, he gets hurt in that, and it's sad. So it's like, what team would wanna take the risk on that? What can you actually get back for him, and what team does he even go to? Like, that's also the question, like, who needs a Zion right now, or who would take that risk? So I don't know if there's any teams that immediately come to my mind when I think about it though. Like, do you just send him to one of the hellscapes that are like Sacramento or Brooklyn or something like that?
do you consider Charlotte still a hellscape?
Well, their young players are talking about Miles Bridges being their role model, so yes.
Yeah, yeah, okay, that answers that. I I think it's going to be difficult, especially because the Pelicans are going to want someone relatively, at least solid in return that they can, once again pair with these 2 young impressive rookies and kind of like build their future around like these players. But it's difficult to say like, and okay, and I think everyone's initial reaction when the Pelicans won the lottery that ended up being Zion, it was like, all right, like what is going to happen with this organization, which had failed at Anthony Davis up to that point.
Yeah,
And I still believe it is a management thing with the Pelicans and why we're constantly seeing this and having these discussions about like, oh, they are not good enough to keep up with the rest of the NBA, or even just, when they do get the opportunity, it just falls apart. Like it really just comes from within your front office at that point. So I I don't want to say the Pelicans are doomed, but it does feel like they are one of those like kind of cursed franchises as well.
dude, this roster is dog shit. Oh my god. I mean, they had to rely on Bryce McGowan's a couple of games ago, who is like a two-way G League guy to come in and give them buckets, which he did. Like he made some clutch buckets, but I mean, good lord, man. Like Jordan Hawkins hasn't been what you thought he was going to be. Sadiq Bey can get you a bucket, but he's not like a needed player. I just they need to do something where that's like, hey, like we're not going to be competing here anytime in the next like in the near future, but at least we have some like young players we can potentially build around here and bring people into our arena because they're already talking about like maybe this is a team where we're gonna have to move to a different city. Is like that's how ugly it's getting. So I don't know. That was just something I wanted to float to you because I'm like, like maybe we're overreacting a bit. We're getting too excited about these two rookies, but I mean, we'll see how the season ends. But I do think it'll be something they have to decide this offseason.
Yeah, and the one thing I had hesitation with saying like, "Oh, they should have traded him in the offseason," is that you didn't know that these rookies would step up and be and start to play this well at this point in the season where it's like we're not even at the halfway point, and you don't know how consistent this is. Like, and
Mm,
I think that's another thing with rookies is that we've seen the highs and lows of a VJ Edgecombe, and then like he starts off the season hot, kind of loses his footing a little bit, and now we're starting to see him get comfortable and kind of grow into a more confident shape. We like Khan Knuppel has had ups and downs this season as well. Probably been the
okay.
most consistent rookie, I think.
Yeah.
Cooper
Yeah.
Flag as well. Like, but
Yeah, or Cedric Coward.
fair. I'd still say Khan has been the most consistent, just
Mm,
like literally just edging him out. But I still do just think that like you just wouldn't know like how like rookies are and especially this rookie class has been very hard to decipher exact. I think collectively they are a very good rookie class, but the lows have been low and the highs have been high. And I think like at some point we're going to collectively see them all kind of get into their exact shape and define who they are, but we just haven't seen that yet.
I agree. I agree. This has been a very fun rookie class in general, man. Yeah, I think Khan is leading all rookies in scoring now with 18, and then it's like Cooper and VJ, and I'm missing somebody are like right behind him. But yeah, all right. Next team I want to talk about a team whose coach you and I are big fans of, the Celtics and Missoula. Uh, the Celtics are one of the best offenses in the league right now. If you look at the past 2 weeks, they're number one in the league when it comes to offense, and they're just like top three in general this season. We talked about how fun this team could be going into the season, not because there was like, oh, they're gonna win a lot of games and we expect something from them, but just because it's like they're missing their best player in Jason Tatum. They traded away Drew Holiday and Al Horford, right? They was kind of in this mode where it's like, all right, we're gonna avoid the first and second apron. We're gonna try and like save ourselves cap wise and just see what we got in these younger players. And you got guys like Kata, who's actually been pretty decent at getting minutes for them. Jordan Walsh, this other young guy who's been looking really good for them. Like real quick on Jordan Walsh, dude, his energy is crazy and his defense is awesome. He's like highly athletic. It's like I feel like he's a player where if Joe Mazzulla like had full reign on like like build a player in 2K, it would be like a Jordan Walsh, just like a guy you can throw out there to play crazy, intense, aggressive defense, but also get you buckets on these like athletic like drives. He's kind of fun to watch, man.
It's funny that you say that because Jordan Walsh looks like the most, like, random 2K created character of all time, and it's funny 'cause I think a couple seasons ago where it was like he's just on the bench and they're like, "Is that not a 2K created
Yeah.
character at the end?"
And then
Um,
he gets out there and you see him, you're like, oh, this dude is like athletic and can like he just plays like exactly how you want Missoula obviously like wants him to play.
yeah.
But we were laughing because it was like everyone's like, oh, maybe they're gonna tank and try to get a better pick. There's no way in hell Missoula was ever gonna say, like, oh yeah, we're just gonna lose games. They're trying to win every single night. They're not an easy out. They blew out the Lakers the other day. They're just they're out. Jalen Brown can't miss from mid. Like, he just straight can't miss. He's basically shooting 50% on these like elbow jumpers he does. I know he's turning the ball over a little bit, but as a team, the Celtics aren't turning it over. So if Jalen Brown is like the guy who's getting this high usage, he's already got more 30-point games this year than he did all last season, including the playoffs. He's been hooping, man. It's
Yeah.
like, and the amount of middies he's taken has been staggering, man. He's up there with like DeMar DeRozan type midi numbers, which usually you'll see like a Shea with that or someone like that. But he's been awesome this year.
I think I had a lot of hesitation going into the season of really kind of putting all of this on Jaylen Brown and saying, like, "You are our guy this season," because of so much of I thought it was
Charlotte
Jalen
Villanueva.
but I what a pull.
Yeah.
I that reminds me of what Kevin Garnett called him, which once again reminds me Kevin Garnett was a menace. But okay. I was a bit hesitant to really say, like, "All right, like, Jaylen Brown, you are the guy moving forward," because you don't know how much of it, like, was, like, Jason Tatum being there and taking off a load of the offensive pressure, and there were all the things about Jaylen Brown not being able to use his left hand, and then we had all the stuff about, like but it was I was just nervous going in to say, like, all right, like, if he's your main guy moving forward and, like, yes, still a very good player, he is, I think, very clearly a Robin to a Jason Tatum Batman. And for him to step into the role of being the sole star this season, I think he's really just been impressive, and I think there's no other way to say that, but you have Joe Mazzulla, who has also found a way to maximize him to his best potential, and it isn't just a I think so many times when some things like this happen, and I think we can even see it with the Pacers and how they've struggled this season, it's very much a, "All right, like, we lost our star player. We and rather than like try to make, any adjustments to kind of and yes, you make adjustments, but rather than drastically change like the Celtics did, they said, "All right, Pascal Siakam, you're just going to be our guy." Like everyone else, like well, obviously we need a Benedict Mathurin, we need a Andrew Nembhard when he's healthy, but like you are our guy. Everything will run through you. And the Celtics have had a lot of trust in other players at the very end of the bench to say, "All right, you didn't play much this season or previous seasons, let's get you out there. Let's see what you really have and not be afraid to do that." And Joe Mazzulla maximizing their potential as well.
It's it's nuts, man. Um, it's fun. It's like it's genuinely fun to see. Is like is this team that no one expected? They're like third. Are they third right now in the standings in the East?
I was just looking.
They are. Yeah, they're third in the standings right now. They're 15-9. They're on a 5-game winning streak right now, which would be the best in the Eastern Conference. Like obviously not the league because of your damn team, but like best in the Eastern Conference. They're nuts. Like they're just they fight every game. They're gonna make every team like wake up to play that. It's I don't know. I enjoy it, man. But yeah, like last 2 weeks, let's see here. They are the number one offense. Their defense, though, is 22nd in the league the past couple weeks, 17 overall in the year. So that is where you can get them. But if you got the number one offense, screw it. Let's just have some fun. Like Pritchard, Anthony Simons, just go out there and shoot the ball because they still take the most threes in the league.
Yeah.
All right. What's the team you want to talk about next?
So it's more less
Or
about a
player?
team and more about a player, and that is Jalen Johnson.
Yeah.
Jalen Johnson has been hooping this season, and I don't think there's any other way to say it. I think he's just been well, one, I'm looking right now at the Hawks page. He's their leader in 3 categories: points, rebounds, and assists. And that should be enough to kind of tell you everything about how well he's been playing. And especially because Trae Young has only played 5 games for them this season. Jalen Johnson has been averaging 23 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists, and had a triple double in the first half of a game earlier this week. So this and this is exactly what we were talking about before he got hurt last season, where it was like Jalen Johnson is playing at a great level,
Hmm.
and like we are excited to see what that looks like because he's still only 23 years old, and for him to really kind of take that step and be given the keys, especially while Trae Young has been hurt, has been great to see.
Yeah, him and Nickeil Alexander-Walker have been sensational for them since Trae Young went out, but Trae Young's about to come back here soon. So now the question is, well, there's questions about like should they keep Trae Young first of all because if the team is like, it's not like they've been like killing it. They're I think you said like they're 12-8 without Trae Young or something like that, right? Um,
Um, he's only played 5 games, so let's
I think
see.
they're like barely above 500 without Trae Young,
Yeah.
but the offense clearly does look better, and I think the defense can obviously take a boost from that as well. Um, so then the question is like, how is it going to look when Trae Young does come back? Is he still going to be like have to have the ball in his hands as much as they can because their pace and the ball movement without Trae Young has been just amazing. So I really am curious to see like because you're right, Jalen Johnson is all star. Like he is an all star this year.
But okay, but I do think, right, like, typically with these type of things, you're worried about and it's crazy to say that you're worried about integrating a star player back into your team,
Right.
but when you're integrating them, like, when they leave, you're usually changing and adjusting your style to run without them. I think you could add Trae Young to an offense which is like this and it not have to change too much. Like, and I don't wanna say like, "Oh, like" and yes, like, I think what you would come to expect from Trae Young is to be this very, like on ball heavy guard who is like leading and controlling your offense. But I think there's a way to still use him as a hub and initiate plays and initiate your offense and still have the great ball movement and chemistry throughout the team.
I agree, and you and I have defended Trae Young in the past as like we do think he's a really good player. It's just he's going to have to be a little less ball dominant when he comes back to this iteration of his team for them to continue and maybe improve upon the offensive success that they've had because they are missing some deep shooting since he's been out. Like I think when he comes back, he can bring that factor to them. And they're an interesting case, man, because I like once Trae Young comes back, I really want to see how this team is.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go next. I got real quick on Denver. Jokic, Murray, and Gordon, awesome, right? They're all shooting like 50+% from the field or something like that. It's ridiculous. Jokic is having another MVP type season. Murray came out the season just ready to go. Like we always talk about him like needing some time. Like usually it's like post All-Star break when he starts to turn it on and look like a guy where you're like, well, if he played like that all year, he could have been an All-Star. And then he obviously in the playoffs, he just goes to another level every time. But this year he came out like immediately. Aaron Gordon's awesome. My problem is the Denver defense is just putrid. That might be too much. It's not good. The Denver defense is not good, and they've been winning more away games lately than they have home games, which is weird. I feel like, especially with Denver, you would be more used to like the altitude and things like that, which players admit affects them. But whatever. Either either way, I mean they are like over the past couple of weeks over the year they're the number one offense in the league, and then since the Celtics took over the last couple of weeks, they're actually their number two offense. Boo hoo, but 18th in defense overall this season, and like it's actually been getting worse. They are the second to last defense in the league the past couple of weeks, so it hasn't gotten any better. So I don't know what they do with that. I know they've been dealing with some injuries, but this was something we talked about last year as well, where it was like the defense would take step backs at times where that would be like the main thing that would hold them back, especially when you got to the playoffs. Now you can still turn it on as things get tighter, and you can operate a little bit slower and helping your defense out in those ways. But I defense, the fact that it's getting worse lately is definitely concerning. But they're still one of the best teams in the league. They're top three in the West. Jokic can just carry you to wherever you need to go. It feels like.
Yeah, and it's crazy because, like, as as bad as the Denver defense has been, like, Jokic has improved his defense, ironically.
Yeah,
And so, like, it's crazy that, like, it's kinda happened this way. He's literally their leading steals, person, which I like, obviously, he's your leading points, rebounds, assists, and now to add the steals part of it, which was, like, heavily maligned, is insane.
ridiculous.
So that's, like, and yes, it's a situation where, for the most part, you don't have to worry about it too much. But I do think when and this was the case last season, when you get to these playoff basketball moments and you need defensive stops because that's what wins you games, and I think we saw that so many times, like, with an OKC, it's why they were champions because they would go down, get whoever it was, because all 5 of them could guard, and all 5, like, you could choose your top 8 players from OKC, and they're all somewhere in a defensive rating category, top 15 somewhere or top 30, because that's how good they are, where you can, no matter who it is, you can swap onto them, and you can have a big moment from them on the defensive end, and I think that's what separates teams like OKC and separates teams like Denver and the Lakers, because you can have cold-blooded players like Jokic and Luka who can hit daggers for you, but you can't hit daggers if your defense is allowing, you know, opposite, threes on the other end. So it's going to, like, it's very much a chess game, and we'll kind of see as the season progresses how that looks.
Yeah, actually, good transition because a player I want to talk about who torched them, their defense, was Ryan Nemhard, the barely 6 foot. I don't even think it was. He is even 6 foot. I think he's like 5'11" with like off the court. They said like without basketball shoes on.
I'm checking
But
right now.
Ryan Nemhard, the undrafted rookie point guard for the Dallas Mavericks, been hooping. Like he seems to be just all of a sudden be the answer for the Dallas like point guard like vacancy basically because you obviously trade away Luca. They bring in D'Angelo Russell, and he just been terrible for them. So they've had this weird vacancy at point guard where they're like, we need Cooper Flag to be like our point. But now you bring in Ryan Nemhard, who he had this like injury in November where he wasn't playing and he was barely getting any minutes before that. But he basically gets forced into a position out of necessity to play their like starting point guard minutes, and he's been awesome, man. Like his passing is so good. Like, and this was something coming out of college. Everyone knew like his passing and his IQ were really good. Which, if you're going to be that size in the NBA, you're going to have stuff like that, where that's like how you get to the court. But then it's been in his shooting as well, which has I think surprised everybody that he's shooting like above 50% from three right now. I think or something like that. It's
Yeah, he's
nuts.
shooting 53.
What? How? Like, what are we talking about? Like, how are they letting this guy who's like not even 6 foot do this? So it's crazy impressive what he's doing. He plays with a good pace in transition. He can make the passes in the half court. He can make the passes and run the offense. And having a point guard like this on Dallas now, where Cooper Flag is freed up to play his natural position. They've had to move AD to the center spot because of injuries, but I actually think that's been beneficial for them. PJ Washington, your boy, has been getting better minutes now at the four. I don't know, man. Like, I'm not gonna say like Dallas is about to like become like a good team and go on some kind of run, but it's just really cool to see that like they have this young undrafted rookie who stepped in and played extremely well for them. And I'm not gonna say he's their answer for the future, but he's definitely earned himself playing time and a roster spot moving forward.
Yeah. And especially, like, to a position that, like, we were talking about, like, you may need to make a trade. If John Morant's on the table, like, what, like,
Yeah,
one of your young centers you can sacrifice if it means that you have a better point guard situation than what you previously had. So I think it's obviously anything's a positive for them at this point, but it just is exciting to know that it isn't just all right, like, we have somebody that we are excited about.
yeah. 100%. And then it also helps out like their other backup guards like Brandon Williams, who is mainly just like a bucket getter. But like, so you want him to be like your lead guard, but now he can come off the bench and just get you buckets. It's, I don't know. It's exciting. And it's cool because you're right. It's like He's not the typical size you would want even in today's NBA for your guard, and he was undrafted, but, he's got the name Nemhard, his brother in Indiana, one of your other favorite players, and he's just out here hooping, man. It's cool to see. All right, who you wanna talk about next?
All right, my next team is it's a very interesting team because they now sit 9-14 in the Eastern Conference. It is the Bulls, and
Oof.
they've really kinda taken a fall from what we thought they were and who we thought they were.
After the first,
And
like, 5-ish games, yeah.
yeah, and like I don't wanna say like, "Oh, like, we thought that they would be a, a much better team than this," but it's like, all right, like, it felt like and we just said, like, the way they started the season was a bit of like, all right, like, this is their like, they're playing their best ball. And, like, if they are able to play at this level and continue to do exactly the things that they are doing, then yes, this works. But there's a lot of ifs, and it seems like those ifs kinda just all, like, came together to, like, really just bite them in the ass.
Yeah.
And that is why now they are 9-14. And yes, you still have Josh Giddey playing at a great level. He's averaging a damn near triple double in 29 and 9. But I think you look around and it's like, all right, Kobe White has only played 7 games for you. Like you're still relying on Nikola Vucevic, who like yes, still is giving you big moments, but he's 35 years old.
Whatever.
Um, why'd
Hit
you
that
say that?
hit that game winner on us.
Still kind of sticks with you, don't it?
Yeah.
But, like, I do think, like and yes, like, this is still a very young team where it is you can't just rule them out because of, like, how good they were to start the season, and, like, now they're going through a bit of a rough patch, like, it's very much like, alright, like, what are we going to see from this point forward with them and, like, what the progression is of, like, alright, teams have started to figure us out. We need to actually show that, like, we can be for real and really get things clicking.
I mean, it's like you said, it's like the only positive thing they have going for them is Josh Giddey, and, like, I still like Ayo Dosunmu as well, but
Yes.
they've gotten worse. Like 30th in offense over the past 2 weeks. They are dead last in the league in offense the past 2 weeks. That means they're worse on offense than the Brooklyn Nets. That's an achievement. That is an achievement, and you're a team that's not trying to lose. The Brooklyn is trying to lose. I just it's kind of sad. Like after the 5-0 start, to be honest. But that's why they're linked to all these trade rumors now with like Anthony Davis, like as like a potential spot. So
Which I called out.
you did. That was a good call for me. But they said that there were like one of three teams. I forget who the other two teams that Shams was talking about it. But I don't know. Yeah, besides making a trade like for a player like that, I don't know what else you can do if you're the Bulls. Like,
Yeah.
was it because that's the thing too. It's like this is the Bulls team that we see every single year, and they don't make these changes enough where it's like, all right, yeah, cool, you got Josh Giddey. What else? Like, you made one good trade, so what's next?
Yeah, you've lost 7 straight, and it's like the Pelicans have also lost 7 straight, but we knew who the Pelicans were at to start the season. We didn't know what this Bulls team was to start the season,
Right.
and to be fair, we still don't know. Like, this could be alright, like, uh, a grace of like, "Alright, we need to figure things out," and they move forward now with in a positive direction of, "We have things figured out," or relatively in a much better direction, and we just don't know because of so much, and I think that's becoming another problem.
I I think they're heading towards like worst season that they've had, even compared to the other seasons they've had recently, kind of territory. All right, let's move on. I want to talk about. Okay, hold up. I have like a few teams left. Who do I want to go with next? You mentioned them earlier. Let's go with the Spurs. First, I just want to give a quick shout out to Harrison Barnes, Iron Man in the league, man. Like he doesn't miss games. He continues to be a efficient shooter, a great vet leader for that Spurs team. It seems like every time they need a clutch shot, like in a close game, he's there to make it. It's actually really fun to see like that old man go out there and do that for them. And that what's a really young team. Just keep him away from AI music videos. That was awful. I can't believe he did that. Um, Anyways, but the Spurs, since like Wemby goes down and everyone got worried about them, right? Like you're in this contentious Western Conference where it's like every win kind of really matters, even this early in the season, because I mean, we've seen what happens with some of these teams. You lose a few games, you go from like third seed to eighth seed. It's just always that competitive here in the Western Conference. But they've actually still been good without Wemby, even, which is scary. The fact that they've been able to like maintain this without their best player, who's just about to come back, which I think he's going to come back for the Lakers game. I'm pretty sure. But I mean, yeah, De'Aaron Fox has been playing like the beam De'Aaron Fox, basically. Like he's so good, man. Like I know he had this like injury and everything like that. It doesn't look like he's lost a step at all. He's so good for this team, and they've needed it with the other guard injuries that they've had. But even Dylan Harper, who just had this game last night, he's hitting game winners against the Pelicans. It's the Pelicans, but like he's playing fantastic for them, whether he's starting for them or coming off the bench. And then there's one player specifically, dude. I was watching a game. I think it was against the Timberwolves. Devin Vassell, dude, his shooting is so like there's some shooters where like when you see them rise up, you're just like, that's good. Like it just looks so smooth. He's one of those, and he's always been like one of those guys where like clearly he's a good shooter, but like he's just gotten better and better. There was a sequence like just like in the T Wolves game where he just kept getting to the elbow, and it was like good, 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 good to the point where I'm like, somebody hit this guy. Like you can't keep letting him take these middies. But it's not even just the middies; it's the wing and corner threes as well for him that he's knocking them down. It's just the Spurs are just they have great depth and they're about to get their best player back. And it's like everyone's like, oh well, their defense is obviously going to go take a dip without Wemby out there. You have
Yeah.
Wemby on any team in the league, you automatically become top 10 at least. And so you bring him back. This team is dangerous, man. This team is really, really dangerous.
So Wemby has missed 11 games
Mhm.
since his injury. The Spurs have won 8 of those 11 games. That like is the
Insane.
absolute best case scenario, and I think a lot of this team and a lot of what we saw at the very start of the season was Wemby is this team.
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to do? Like when he gets in foul trouble or like you need other players to step up. And these type of games were the perfect opportunity to really see what you have on this roster and say like, yes, we like on paper, your draft picks were very good. Obviously, you have a rookie of the year, player and a rookie of the year candidate. Like, let's see them in action. Let's see what they can do without this magnet that is Victor Wembanyama. Yes, we saw Stephon Castle do it all last season, but like it's different to see, a Dylan Harper do it this year. One more interesting thing to note with this whole Wemby and the injury situation, he can only miss 5 more games before he doesn't meet the threshold for end of season awards.
I hate that rule so much. The
Okay,
Joel Embiid rule.
I like it to some degree, but I do think that there may need to be like all right, like you knock it to 55 games or something because like it's just it's becoming tough. And I think like when you have players now like J-Dub and potentially like Wemby who are going to be and okay, to be fair though, I wouldn't be entirely opposed to it because I feel like he's when he's healthy and he plays the 65 game limit, like he's going to be defensive player of the year. He's going to be in talks of MVP. But it is great to see diversity, especially in the MVP, our defensive player of the year discussion. And every year that we go away from like it being just a Victor Wembanyama type of player or a power forward or center, we get great on ball defense guards. And I think like having one of them win one of these defensive player of the years while Wemby doesn't meet the requirements would be pretty fun.
Yeah, the award thing is it's so sad, like because there's a lot of star players this year that will miss out, like you already mentioned. But yeah, Wemby. w- w- I'm sorry. I'm thinking like, what do you do with the team when they're fully healthy? Because I can't wait to see them in the playoffs. I really can't.
There's going to be a very interesting matchup coming up on Christmas actually between OKC and
Oh,
and
he
San
hates
Antonio,
Chet, and he hates Chet.
which I am very interested to see.
Maybe you guys will finally get your second loss of the season,
Why would you wish that?
dickheads. 23-1. All right, let's do it. Do you want to talk about OKC some more? Can we just get this out of the way?
I feel like I really kinda hit on them a lot, like, already, like, I like,
You don't want to talk about SGA and these step back threes he's fucking hitting?
I
What the hell?
okay, I mean, if you insist, like, Okay, but I think it was only a matter of time because I think we were seeing him take these step back threes to start the season, and it was like it was misses. And it was only a matter of time before he would adjust, and these misses would turn into makes. And I think we've seen that, and now it's opening more threats in his game, which is kind of crazy for someone who's averaging 30 plus points a game already to open up more scoring and more scoring opportunities. But all this to say, like he's doing this still like with 3 quarters mostly, 'cause what does he have to do, when he has a great team surrounding him? But he still is, like, the crucial part of all of this.
He is technically right now the best player in clutch minutes, and he barely plays fourth quarters. How do you guard him at this point? I really don't know. He is a complete three-level scorer who can find his shot anywhere he can, anywhere he wants on the court. We already saw the improvement in the playmaking last year during the playoffs, right in front of our own eyes. I it's in the fact that he's better than he was last year during his MVP season already is it's scary, and I hate it. I hate it, man. This team is just the Death Star, man. Like, what are we supposed to do? Yeah, you have all the fun. Yeah, 23 and
I
1.
I just keep smiling through it all.
On pace to have less than 10 losses on the season right now. Yeah, the record is it's a possibility, man. It's a possibility.
I don't wanna jinx it. Things are going good, but there's a very long, portion of the season to go.
Hmm. All right. Let's move on. I had to talk. I just mentioned step back threes and just the ridiculous offense that he's putting out there on top of everything else that we already know he does. Um, a few shout outs, and then there might be like one team to talk about left, like more in depth for me. I don't know about you, but Phoenix. I don't know how much I believe in them because they seem to always start their seasons like this. Like someone mentioned, like this, like they're 12 and whatever. My whole point with the Phoenix right now is like they always have these good starts. Shout out to their coach Jordan Ott. He's got them started off really, really well right now. I think he's a really good coach. Dylan Brooks being this good, especially on offense, to the point where other players like Austin Reeves are saying like, "Yeah, we just have to stop Dylan Brooks on offense." I didn't see that coming. They've been dealing with injuries with Jalen Green, Devin Booker, but then it's like, oh, okay, cool, that's fine. We got two good little young centers, and we got Dylan Brooks and Colin Gillespie. Like, and they're a scrappy team that plays good defense. I didn't think I would have fun watching the Suns this year. Besides Devin Booker, who I always enjoy watching,
Yeah,
but besides him, I was like, who else am I going to watch? Besides, like, I do like their centers, but
yeah. So, Devin Booker is still their leading scorer. He's played 22 games for them.
mhm,
Dylan Brooks is their second, and he's played even less games for them, with 18, and he's averaging 22 points a game, which is insane.
he's
Um,
shooting the hell out of the ball, dude.
yeah, and especially for, like, Dylan Brooks with what we know him as is that, like and I guess I've seen, like, him kinda get a bit more credit these past couple seasons of, like, I like, genuinely a culture setter, um,
Hmm.
and which is crazy to say, but when Jalen Green and yes, like, I'm one of the first people to shit on Jalen Green, um, he's only played 2 games for them this season, and this like, you would think that the way that they've been playing, like, he at least had to have taken a step in the right direction where it's like we are talking about the Suns in these type of lanes of being in a not like a play-in type of situation, at least right now in the playoffs. Um, and the fact that he's only played 2 games for them and they are still at this point says a lot about the staff and how they've developed other players around him. And maybe, like, when he comes back, he's able to fully kinda get into a rhythm, and we see him play at a much better level and fit into the Suns roster because that would be the best case scenario for them, and they can make this thing a more permanent and consistent performance, but it's just going to be interesting to see, like, if this is consistent throughout the season.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it too. I'm just like, can they sustain this? Because we've seen this before with like the Phoenix teams, where it's like they get up the hot starts, and then it's like, ugh. They're kind of in the middle of everything. Especially lately, they're kind of just like middle of the league in offense and defense. But I mean, they've at times been a top 10 defense in the league, which I also really didn't expect. Yeah, the whole KD and Beal situation. Yeah, the fact that they flipped all that, got some good picks out of it. You still have Devin Booker there, Jalen Green when he comes back, who we'll see what happens there. But like, I don't know, they actually have like a decent floor to work with. All right, what team do you want to talk about next?
Honestly, I'm out of teams to talk about. I think I hit on everything I wanna talk about.
We can talk about the Knicks and the belt ass we just gave Toronto. Yeah, Jalen Brunson is he's on one again. It's kind of ridiculous. Mikal Bridges looks like he's playing at an all-star level. The threes are just hitting every single time. So shout out to them. We talked about it all last show, so I don't want to go too much into it, but they're on the way to potentially winning the NBA Cup. So shout out to them, I guess. Uh, I need them to improve their defense a bit. Like the effort
I was
is
gonna say
there.
that felt like the most, like, half-assed, like, "Yeah, I guess they're
I
doing
know.
good. Yeah,
I know,
shout
I
out to
know.
y'all."
We could talk about them, I guess. Like I said, when you look at their defense has been really good. It's been getting better. Like it was kind of like average when the season started. We're kind of like, okay, like Cat, what are we going to get out of you? They've been dealing with some injuries, but I mean, first of all, Josh Hart is nuts. Like I coming off the bench with less minutes, he's still just crazy effective for them. It's been cool to see them use some of their other bench pieces, like we mentioned before, like because Tibbs was just allergic to doing that. Um, but I mean, their offense has been top three consistently all year, thanks to Jalen Brunson doing his thing, Cat doing all right. Cat's been up and down. Like he started the season to a point where like, okay, cool, we're seeing Cat do some things better that we haven't seen him do in the past. But some of the like above the break threes, like the shot selection at times is a little like off, but he has been really, really good. It's been cool to see him acclimate to this like Mike Brown system. And then just everyone buying into it with OG and Mikel. Like this clearly is one of the better teams in the league, and they're you can't pick them over like I don't know, like top 3 in the East easily to come out, I would say.
Yeah. I still believe that, like, when all is said and done, like, it will be Detroit and New York at the top, one way or another, like, the rest of
Mhm.
it can sort out how it is, and you've got Toronto as the 5 seed, which is kinda crazy, and Philly has been inconsistent in making these pushes, but I think the top 2, whether one of them overtakes the other, will be Detroit and New York.
Yeah, I think Orlando, they've been playing better lately, so maybe, but another team we need to talk about, and then this will be the last one because we could talk about the Sixers. I could always talk about the Sixers, but let me get this out of the way real quick. The Cavs, are you worried about Cleveland?
I
'Cause
okay.
I am.
I definitely am a little bit, and especially because, like, when you talk about teams that have, like are, like, should be locks in the playoffs, it's like, alright, Detroit, New York, Cleveland, Orlando. Those 4 are somewhere or another, and I think, like, yes, like, things will obviously just I wanna say things will get better, but, like,
But they've been getting
what
worse.
I would say, what is getting better for them when it's like you're not okay, Darius Garland has been your only really big miss this season where he's only played 9 games.
And when he's been on the floor, he hasn't looked good.
Yeah, exactly, and it's like you've been known as a regular season team for the past couple years, and you've struggled every time you get to the postseason, whether it's injuries or just, not being able to meet the expectation or meet the moment. And now you're getting to a point where it's like, all right, like, what is this? This is a big turning point for them of what is the like, what are you going to move forward with the future? Is it like, and yes, I do believe Donovan Mitchell is their guy. He's averaging 30 points per game. Like you're not going to get any better performances out of him. But what
Did
about
you
this?
know he was
What
like a
about the surrounding
dividing
cast?
factor among Cleveland fans? Like,
Y-
there's a large contingent of Cleveland fans that don't like him.
I had no clue.
And
I
I did not know that. I figured this out recently. Like, I stumbled upon like it was on Twitter, like a bunch of them were going back and forth. I was like, oh, it's just one guy. Then it was like, oh, like it's like divided. Like some people like don't want Donovan leading their team. He's been the best guy on their team.
yes,
Mobley's been disappointing this year.
I think there's like two sides to it where it's like, all right, like if and this is like I think a discussion with all ball dominant players is that like to what degree are they does their ball dominance become a negative for the team as a whole? I don't think he's gotten to that point yet because you cannot say that there is another offensive weapon that is taking the load off of him. And I
Mm.
think that would be the difference if like if it was like, all right, like you I don't know, you have like a Luca, for example. You have a Luca. You have an Austin Reeves who's playing at an insane level and continues to progress his game. Like if Luca was being ball dominant every play, like walking down the court and taking all the shots, taking all the opportunities when you have an Austin Reeves and yes, like you have a LeBron who can like, is more of a 3rd option at this point now, but it still can give you the buckets, and we've seen that, like, throughout the season, especially against the Sixers, give you these points, like, it would be a shame if Luka was walking down the court every time and averaging 30, being a ball dominant player and not passing out to them, and the Lakers are losing games and all of that. But we don't have that discussion with them because he passes the ball. And but like he has the options to pass the ball to these players. And I just don't think anyone on the Cavs roster that I'm looking at right now, I can say like, all right, you are good enough where it's like you can be the B to Donovan Mitchell's A.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Mobley, but he hasn't progressed as much as I guess you would want him to so far into this season. Garland's been out. Lonzo Ball's been nice. I like DeAndre Hunter, but it's like you're right. Like there's no like, all right, who's the other guy? Things are getting a little tricky there in Cleveland. It's gonna be interesting to watch how they try to improve this during the season. All right, let me get the Sixers thing out of the way here real quick. Maxey is a superstar. I don't think anyone can argue that. Maxey is a freaking superstar. The game, oh my god, the game against the Warriors where VJ Edgecombe catches the tipped game-winning shot from Maxey and then puts it back, and then Maxey climbing himself out of the chair from the sideline after get that shot block to chase down D'Anthony Melton to get that block was euphoric. It was it was amazing. But in general, with the Sixers, it's frustrating as hell that the backcourt can be as good as it is. But like, I think Jeremy Kane should get more minutes actually. But Jeremy Kane, like he had a rough start to the season. We had like the injury stuff, but since he's been able to get that knee brace off, he's been hooping again. It's just I don't think he's been getting the minutes he needs. VJ Edgecombe, right, he's been up and down, but he has this fun factor where it's like just put him in an intense like clutch moment and he comes through. Like he consistently this season as a rookie, he has come through in clutch moments, including that Golden State game. And then look, the Paul George and Joel Embiid thing. Paul George has shown he can still get a bucket. There was one game where he got like the first 11 points of the Sixers game. But then it's also like he just kind of disappears. And he also just has been dealing with his knee stuff still and hasn't been on the court. And his defense has actually been decent. It's like the one-on-one defense was always great, but like the team defense aspect, it was either Dominic Barlow or it was Walker. I think it was Jabari Walker was talking about like they were playing a team, they went into a zone, and he was confused, like, he just didn't know, like, what he exactly needed to do, and it was Paul George who was telling him, like, "You need to do this." He was the one, like, keeping everyone, like, in the moment, like, "You do this, you do this," and he was telling his guys, like, "Get to the free throw line, if they're gonna play the defense, get to there, and we'll find you," and it worked, and they shouted him out for that, so good. I just need him on the floor more, I guess, to see this more consistently, and then the Joel Embiid thing, it's basically the same. I just need you on the floor more consistently to see, like, what we're actually gonna get out of you guys here. This is what we expected with the Sixers. It was like, how healthy are they going to be? And when they have everyone out there, what's it going to look like? This is clearly Maxey's team. He is the franchise that they nicknamed him that for a reason. This is his team. Uh, the best things that the Sixers have going for them though right now are Maxey and their uniforms. The throwback uniforms are. I mean, I'm biased obviously, but number one in the league.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you in the sense that I think it's and this is gonna be my concern is that it feels like and this is very like we're very far from this, is that this potentially could turn into a and it doesn't have to. Maxey should not be playing as many minutes as he does. And I don't wanna sit here and say, like, we're get like, if this if he continues on this track, then we're going to see him end up being an Embiid situation. But when you have the depth that you do, especially at guard position, and yes, Maxey, your franchise, your go-to guy. At some point, your franchise needs to be, like, managed properly.
He's
And that
averaging 40 minutes a game right now.
insane. And that comes with managing his minutes and saying like, "All right, like, he isn't needed in this time." Yes, you can have a Jared McCain there and trust him to be that guy. And I think the lack of trust is worrisome in that sense because, why not just unleash him? And so I just it's going to be interesting to see how this progresses throughout the season, especially if, like, he picks up an injury or something and they're relying so much on him.
Yeah, It worries me, man. I don't have high expectations exactly for this team this year, but I mean, the fact that they in the East, they could easily make the playoffs, and then it's like when they get there, what happens? Like, who's available and how do they look? Like, how
Yes.
long have they been available? That's always the thing. It's like the Paul George and Embiid are just forever coming back from injury, and no matter what, just it sucks. It really it just sucks. But they're my team, and they suck in the third quarter. They're the worst team in the league in the third quarter. It's actually insane. I don't know what they're doing at halftime in the locker room, but that maybe they need to inherit the positivity bunny and make it look like hip hop. Their old mascot. Okay. Real quick, what other teams are you looking to watch more of that you're curious about?
Ooh, okay. For me personally, the Hornets. I want to see more of
Mhm.
Constantinople. Um, I honestly really okay, all of the rookies. I will say that because I talked about them being in an up and down class, but like I said, when the moments are high, like when they are performing at a good level, it is great, and you're seeing them play great basketball. So tied to that, I want to see Constantinople and really Derek Queen, and that unfortunately means watching Pelicans games.
Dude, I would say also if you haven't been watching him a lot, Cedric Coward, man. I think he's a star in the making.
I if there's any, I'm looking at all the other teams, and I'm not gonna give you any sense of satisfaction by saying the Trailblazers, but it might be a good idea to catch a game or 2 of them.
I need
Um,
Scoot to come back, man. I need Scoot to fucking finally play, and
and
Drew
and
Holiday to be healthy.
and the only other team I'll say is the Magic. I really wanna see, like, especially, like, how they continue to operate, and especially now without Franz for a couple weeks, like, what does it look like?
Dude, Anthony Black, watch him. He is emerging.
From what I saw last season, I haven't seen it as much this season, but I really liked what he was doing last season.
He's taking a leap. For me, Grizzlies were actually one of them, mainly because I haven't watched them much since Zach Edey has come back. But from what I'm seeing in short spurts, he's looking good. Like, which is a positive for them. In fact, the Grizzlies have been weirdly like decent. I don't know what's happening there with all their young guys like Vincent Williams and all that, but they're kind of hooping. So they're a team I want to watch a little bit more. Um, I was gonna say Golden State, but they actually kind of pissed me off with how they play basketball lately, so I don't want to watch them as much. Facts, as soon as Ja went to the bench, yeah, which that's a whole other conversation eventually, dude. This trade deadline might be insane with all the rumors that are gonna pop up. Um, Milwaukee, I've watched too much of at this point. I like Ryan Rollins, but there's only so much I can watch of like Kuzma and Miles Turner chucking up bad
Oh,
shots. Um, yeah, I would like to watch actually more Clippers games. I know that sounds bad, but just for like the swan song of like James Harden right now. And I think that's it. Oh, the Wizards. I haven't watched the Wizards in a couple weeks. Yeah, that's about it. Hey man, I'm still holding on to my Bub Carrington stock. That's all I'm saying.
fair enough, fair enough. I
Cam
still
Whitmore might be out of his way of
believe
the
you.
league, by the way.
Yeah,
You
I
can't make it on the Wizards. Time to
and
pack it up, buddy.
and all the stuff from what we're hearing is very much all off the court stuff, like, very much intangibles that you can control,
Yeah.
and it just it's disappointing.
All right. That's it for me. Unless you had like any more quick shout outs, you just want to say a name or something.
As always, I gotta shout my lovely king, Shea Gorgeous Alexander out. Keep hooping.
Disgusting. All right, man.
Okay, but you know what isn't disgusting? According to you, streaking through Los Angeles, but, like, I'm the crazy one for saying my appreciation for the man who has saved me for years of ridicule of, like, one day this man I through high school of saying, "One day this man will be an MVP. One day OKC will be champions," because I had a dream, and my dream
Oh
came true.
my god.
And now
Oh
I
my.
will be able to rest at night knowing that my king is an NBA champion. What do you know about that?
That's what we're doing? That's what we're doing. All right, bet. I went through the process. I went through all that. You're barely a drinking age talking about like, oh, my team, I grew up with them. MLK didn't die for this. Yeah, by the way, Brunson Burner, Knicks fan. You're gonna talk like that when there's a Knicks fan in the chat? You wanna talk to him about struggle? Yeah,
Okay, this wasn't a conversation
yeah.
about struggle. It was a conversation about belief. Okay, I believed in Shea, and guess what? He's now taking me to the promised land.
It's just
Frank
whatever.
Frank Ntilikina. What a
Frank Ntilikina. Yeah, do you want me to bring up the entire process, like all the players? You want to talk about Nick Stauskas?
that's nasty work.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Michael Carter
Anyways,
Williams,
we can go down the list another day. It would take. We just did a 3 hour show, by the way. Here in 50 seconds, it'll be a 3 hour show. I could make it a 2 hour show going through the entirety of the Sixers process era. Okay, I have a whole book on it. You want to see? I got a whole book on it.
I know I it's not it's not
Look at
necessary.
this. Look at this.
Yeah, don't
Tanking
worry.
to the
No,
top.
don't worry. There's gonna be a Sam Presti one in a couple years.
Yeah, Sam Presti. Yeah, yeah. Well, he got to finish the job, but Adam Silver hates Philadelphia, so he ruined our franchise for a few years. Dickhead. Hope he gets fired. Trying to make this Euro League. What are we doing? All right. Anyways, that's it for us. Why? God, I end the football one angry because we got to talk about the Eagles. Now you got me going about Adam Silver in the process era. Okay. That's it for us, everybody. Thank you for watching. Really long show. A lot of fun, though. 3 hours. That's crazy, Jay. Good job, man. Always fun talking football and basketball, even if my teams piss me off. We will upload these to YouTube soon. Also, a quick message. Not sure what's going to happen with playback. It came out in a blog post for them that they will have to shut the site down. There's been some rumors about maybe some Hail Mary last minute investors coming in, maybe keeping the platform up. We'll have to wait and see. But as always, we will always post our videos on YouTube, and if we need to, we will go to over to YouTube and live stream there if we have to. But we'll of course we'll keep everyone up to date with that. But thank you everybody who has been watching and listening. We hope you continue to do so. We will see you again soon. I hope we can do another NBA show soon as well because we're getting to that time of the year where things really start to get a little bit closer and a lot more fun, especially with the trade deadline coming up. So thank you everybody, and I hope you have a good day.